Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
What's up and welcome back to Bar Down Talking Hockey, episode number 45, presented by the Barroom Network. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I'm here with Joey Parisi and Frankie Mueller. And boys, Joey finally is wearing a new hat.
A lot of thought went into this. I was like, I can't put on that Bauer hat. I don't even know where the Bauer hat is. So figured I would stop wearing that hat for a little bit.
Before we get going into hockey, I want to talk about something very near and dear to 2/3 of this podcast. And I don't know how Frankie feels about it, but of course, I have to at least talk about it, at least in the intro of this show. Something happened this week that caused me to be very emotional, look back on a lot of very good times in my life. Few things on this planet, and I'm talking movies, sports, anything related to culture, have brought me and Joey together as brothers more than watching Tom Brady play football. And over the last 22 years, me and Joey grew to love sports in general, but we kind of got into football, and Tom Brady was always there with the New England Patriots for 20 years and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 2 years. And we'd host Super Bowl parties, and everybody there would be rooting against Tom, except for Vinny and Joey, who like to be different than everybody else. And then when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in the Super Bowl, during halftime, everyone's in the room watching The Weeknd perform his weird thing throughout all those mirrors and all that stuff. Good stuff. But me and Joey were in the other room making a video imitating Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. It's just been something that has meant a lot to us over the years. And now Tom Brady's calling it quits after a large 22-year career. You know, you think of something like Eli Manning, right? Eli Manning posted a video congratulating Tom for all his career achievements. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl while Eli Manning was in college, in the NFL, and after he retired, which just speaks volumes to Tom's dedication to his body, his dedication to his craft, and his dedication to winning. So, Joe, I'll lend it over to you. Your thoughts on the GOAT retiring after 22 seasons.
Yeah, it's sad. I don't know if there's ever going to be a player, and I was thinking about this yesterday because, you know, I was in denial the entire time when it was falsely reported, and then he finally came out yesterday and said, yeah, he posted on Instagram was where I believe he broke his news. But it's almost like you get that feeling like I'm never going to feel the same way about another player. Like, I don't know, it's different. Like, yeah, we have our favorite players in baseball and in hockey. But I don't know. For me, it's just I don't think I'm ever going to feel the same way I felt about Tom Brady towards another player in my entire life. So it's sad for sure. It's an end of an era. It's an end of a football era for me. So it's just sad. But, I mean, he deserves all the recognition he's getting. Anyone who has anything bad to say about him, like, honestly, that it's just clown takes because he is the greatest of all time.
Frank, your thoughts on the GOAT?
Yeah, he's retiring now, and I think instead of everybody, you know, it's obviously sad for a lot of people that he's retiring, but now it's time to honor him after the season and, you know, celebrate what he's done in the NFL post-career now in a way of honoring him. And yeah, it's emotional. It was great to see him play throughout the years. I mean, I always respected Tom. I never hated him, but I never even like super loved him either. But just a guy who's that good, you always got to respect somebody like that. It's like that for a lot of players. But now it's time to go forth in a new era of the NFL and see what the newcomers do and how they pave their own path going forward.
Yeah, Joe, I'm with you. It's hard to think like a player will ever play football again that I'll follow him to another team, especially a team that's like before last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I didn't give a crap about them. I mean, I love all 32 NFL teams. I love football. I love every college team. Like at the end of the day, even the teams I hate, I love that they exist because without them, the stories would be, different. You need rivals. You need this. You need that. The New England Patriots are my second favorite team because of Tom. And then I started rooting for the Buccaneers over everyone because my love for Tom Brady ran so deep that I had to root for him no matter where he went. And now that he's gone, it's like I've always been a Bears fan. All you got to do is follow me on Twitter and know how much I love and care about that team. And I would root for them over anyone too. But like now, like I'm just a Bears fan. I don't have Tom to fall back on if they stink. And it's just weird. I haven't fully digested it yet. And how I'm going to move on as a football fan is something that I'm going to have to like dig deep and figure out over the offseason. And, hopefully the Chicago Bears, with the announcement of hiring Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus as the head coach, you could check out me and Aldo Gandia's last week's episode of Crosstown Crosstalk, where we kind of avoided baseball for a week and talked about, the Chicago Bears and the new direction they're headed in. I'm very excited for Tom. I know that he wasn't very happy with the way the retirement got leaked on Saturday, and then it made it where he had to like use his notes app on his phone to announce it a couple days later to not let it linger too much longer. And, the one thing I like about the NFL is it's such a spectacle that it's the only sport that is active for 12 months of the calendar year. There is something to point to in every single month of the calendar year. Like even March has, what's it called for the draft, the combine. And then in April, there's free agency. And then in May, there's the draft. In June, free agency. Like July is when mini camps start. And August is when preseason. And then September through December is the regular season. January, playoffs. February, Super Bowl. Like the NFL's so great. And Tom Brady knows that he had to get this decision released soon, because the teams need to be able to move on literally by the end of the Super Bowl so they can begin preparation for next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Joe, I've appreciated watching Tom with you all these years, and he ended up proving us right year after year. We never really lost too many Tom Brady arguments because he ended up having our back pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. What's your favorite Brady memory? Because mine, I'll just go ahead and say mine. And that's, best Super Bowl I've ever watched. We had a bunch of family over. Everyone was being extremely mean to us. 28-3. Enough said. I was, and you kept looking at me. I was never worried. I've seen Tom do it, even when they were eliminated against the Rams. Like it was almost classic Tom Brady in his final drive of his career. What ended up being, it was almost classic Tom Brady in comeback fashion. He's been doing it his whole career, and he's going out the same way. So that's my favorite Tom Brady moment, though, was when you kept looking at me. Are you worried? And you're my witness. I was never worried. I never was actually worried during that.
It is fitting that if Tom wasn't going to go out on top, like as a Super Bowl champion, if he went out on a loss, his last drive was a touchdown. And if it wasn't for Cooper Kupp is probably the best receiver in the NFL after the catch, yards after the catch. I think Cooper Kupp is probably the best in the NFL right now. I think Devontae Adams is the best overall wide receiver in the NFL, but after the catch, the best wide receiver in the NFL is Cooper Kupp, and he ended Tom Brady's career. But I'm with you. Because 28-3, I was worried. And this probably sounds bananas. It was not a joke when I kept asking you, are you worried? I was using you and your mental fortitude to help me, not, just completely give up on it. And I believe that is one of the greatest Super Bowls ever played. 28-3, the New England Patriots are down. And, of course, the Pats come back and they win by getting the 2-point conversion to tie. And then, of course, Tom in overtime, and it was so much fun. The funny thing is, to all three Super Bowls, there were two Super Bowls that Tom Brady won that he probably deserved to lose. And it's that one. And it's the Seattle game, where I honestly think Pete Carroll made the worst decision in the history of human beings. Not sports, not football, human being history. The worst decision ever made was by passing that ball and being picked off by Malcolm Butler. But then again, I do believe water levels out because all three of Tom Brady's Super Bowl losses are games that probably should have been won by the Patriots. I'm talking about the 2 against the New York Football Giants, where 2 of the luckiest plays in NFL history were made. Eli Manning on the back end of his feet getting the ball to David Tyree. And then Tom's best Super Bowl performance was against the Philadelphia Eagles. He had over 500 yards, and they ended up losing that game thanks to a late, game fumble. So my favorite moment of all time in Tom Brady's career is the comeback against the Atlanta Falcons. But the most satisfying moment of Tom Brady's career for me, and I probably will give the edge over the one against the Falcons, was last season, 2020, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He leaves New England, and New England, they kind of stunk for a year, and Tom goes to the 7-9 Buccaneers and magically turns them into the Super Bowl champions. That solidified him as the GOAT. It put him in Michael Jordan stature, in my opinion, like the greatest team sport male athletes of all time. Tom Brady's right there with MJ. He might even be number 1. So that's what I got. The one thing that's funny, the one year the Bears made it to the Super Bowl, Tom lost to Peyton. It was the one time Tom ever lost to Peyton Manning, was in the 2006 AFC Championship game, and it was really close to being Bears versus Tom, which would have been very interesting. We probably would have had another Super Bowl, but it was a fun ride while it lasted, and it was fun to experience it. Frank, we even experienced it with you a little bit, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I could tell Frankie's just chomping at the bit to get to hockey. He's done with Tom.
Yeah.
He's mad that Tom retired in the same offseason as Big Ben Roethlisberger, because now when they both inevitably go into the Hall of Fame in 2027, Big Ben, he'll get his recognition, but he's going to be second fiddle to Tom, and Frankie's just salty about it.
Frankie's like the other NFL Instagram accounts who were like giving their joke goodbyes to Tom Brady. Did you see any of those?
Oh, the one with the Colts.
The Chargers had a really funny one too.
Oh, I missed the Chargers. Did you see the Colts?
The Jets was funny.
The Jets were funny. They were like about time or something like that. So funny.
Frankie's on that boat.
Yeah, Frankie's on that boat. Everyone's tired of losing to Tom. Me and Joey were winners for the last 22 years, and hopefully we continue to be winners in the sport of football, but I don't know. There's not going to be another one like Tom. So with that, we have some hockey to discuss after a long, outstanding conversation about Tom Brady. And with that, Frank, why don't you do the honors?
Oh, I get back-to-back weeks with the honors.
We've been talking so much in this little warm-ups here. These are our warm-ups.
Well, let's get it going in period number 1.
Welcome to period number 1, where we're going to talk about Frank Mueller's favorite team in all of sports. And of course, I'm talking about the big, the bad. Just kidding. They're not big and they're not bad. Well, they are bad, but the bad kind of bad. The Chicago Blackhawks. They, of course, have lost a couple in a row. Not looking too good, but there's a little bit of hope. I actually think their farm system stinks, and some of their young players aren't playing like they should be, but they're going to hire a new general manager. I don't think Kyle Davidson is going to stick long-term. I just don't. I don't think they would be going through this extended of a search if he was the guy and he was identified as the guy long-term. But who knows? Maybe he impresses so much that this new committee does reach the conclusion that he's the man for the job. But for now, they will conduct the search. They've already had Mike Ford and his company of Sportology leading the search for the new Chicago Blackhawks general manager. But during the week, they announced a major update to that philosophy, and they added 3 Chicago Blackhawks legends to this advisory team. 3 guys who all won the Stanley Cup. One of them was not with the Hawks, but it was with another team. I'm talking about Ed Olczyk, 1994 Stanley Cup champion with the New York Rangers. Patrick Sharp, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion with the Chicago Blackhawks. And, of course, the best of them all, Hall of Famer, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, MVP caliber player year after year, Marian Hossa. Frank, you're the Blackhawks fan of this group. What do you think of these hires for the GM search?
Well, I love when sports organizations do this, when they bring in ex-players or people really close associated with the franchise and bring them in to help out, because these 3 ex-players, legends, huge names in Chicago, they know how to win and they know what's good for the organization. I think these are three of the best people you could have on the job. I was surprised that the news came out that these three would be looking for a new general manager for the Blackhawks. I'm not surprised that they chose these three because of, like I said, they are three guys that know how to win. They are three guys that know what championship tastes like. So I think that having these three guys in a search of a new GM is definitely going to help switch something around in the organization because they definitely need something different going on right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It was really cool to see these three guys be named, and you don't really expect a couple of them. Like if you told me a week ago Ed O was going to help search for this team's new GM, I'd be like, yeah, of course he is. I wouldn't be surprised if they hire him to take John McDonough's job and be the president in the long term. But, Patrick Sharp, outstanding TV analyst. He was in between the glass last night against the Vancouver Canucks, or was it 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago.
Yeah, 2 nights ago, sorry. And then Marian Hossa. And so what this means to me, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm just looking too deeply into it, but you got a guy who has lots of connections in Canada. You have a guy who has lots of connections in the United States of America. And you have a guy who has lots of connections in Europe. Joseph, your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually want to know your guys' opinion on my thoughts. So these are three guys that I have never met a single Hawks fan that has anything bad to say about Edzo, about Sharpie, or about Hossman. I use their nicknames because that's what Hawks fans refer to these guys as. Every single Hawks fan loves these three guys. I feel like this is a move by the Blackhawks to say, okay, I mean, the fans have not necessarily loved the moves of the Chicago Blackhawks over the past 5-10 years.
Well, yeah. Stan Bowman traded
I feel like this is a move.
Generational talents.
I feel like this is a move by the Blackhawks to get the fans to approve of the next general manager right away because, hey, these three guys who you love so much approved of this. They want this general manager. So I feel like that's kind of the reason behind this. They got three faces that Chicago fans already love to go ahead and give the approval of this future GM to be named. So that's kind of what I'm feeling like why they did this. It's not too often you see teams do this or make a big deal about who the advisors are who are searching for the next general manager. I've actually never seen it before. So to get three Blackhawks, we'll call them legends, fan favorites, to approve and be in search of the next general manager, I think it's a move to get back on the fans' good side. That's my opinion on the whole thing.
You make a good point.
Yeah.
Like I see what you're saying, and like you said, nobody's really got anything ever to say bad about these three guys.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that when you bring up the Blackhawks, one of those three names work their way in the conversation. Whether you're talking about when the Hawks won the Stanley Cup in 2010, 13, 15, and you're talking about Hossa and Sharp, or you bring up the good old days back in the day and you're talking about Eddie Olczyk, or he's announcing the game or doing color commentated for the game. Yeah, nobody's ever had really anything bad to say about these guys. And I've gotten the
Yeah, these three guys are like three of the most loved Blackhawks. Like even like today, Edzo on TV, everyone loves Edzo. Everyone loved Edzo on NBC's broadcast or now TNT's broadcast or whatever.
And people want Eddie Olczyk associated with the organization, president of hockey ops or stuff like that. They want him more involved with the organization. They don't want to have him just in the broadcast booth. And I've gotten the opportunity to meet Marian Hossa myself. Got to shake his hand, take pictures with him. You know, he signed the stick that I have. And he's just a great guy overall. There's nothing bad to say about any of these guys.
Exactly.
Few people on planet Earth love and care about the Chicago Blackhawks more than Ed Olczyk. He's from Illinois. He's Illinois' all-time leading scorer. And he has experience in talent evaluation. Let's not forget, when the Pittsburgh Penguins won the draft lottery in 2005, he was their head coach. Now, I could have taught a turtle a little bit about hockey over a 5-minute crash course, and they would have known to draft Sidney Crosby. But what about Evgeny Malkin? What about Christopher Letang? What about, I don't think he was there for this, but Marc-Andre Fleury? He had these guys in the organization while he was there. He knows about talent. He knows what it takes to seek out this talent. He's been around some outstanding hockey people over his years. He was a teammate of Mark Messier in New York. outstanding teams in Chicago from time to time, scored over 300 goals in the National Hockey League. And he's probably the worst of the three players that they picked, maybe second or, second. It's a debate between him and Sharp. They have very similar stats. Obviously, Hossa was the best. But you got three guys here who are fan favorites. I think it's a combination of both, Joe. I think what you said has merit to it. They could want to be in the good graces of fans again after what happened in October with Kyle Beach and all that kind of stuff. Like, they're not a well-liked organization across hockey right now. So you bring in three guys who are liked to that extent.
Not just like the three guys who are loved by Blackhawks fans. So these three guys are going to pick out the next GM, and then what are fans going to have to say? Fans aren't going to shit on the GM that Hossa, Sharp, and Olczyk picked.
Here's the thing, though. I think in addition to wanting to do that, I think you're right. But in addition to wanting to do that, I think the Blackhawks actually believe that these three guys can get the job done correctly.
Maybe. I think it's like 75-25. 75% being literally just to show the fans like, hey, these guys are going to approve this. We love them, so love our decision.
Would you say, Frank, that you're surprised with this decision?
I'm not surprised on the three they chose because of the reasons we previously stated, but I was surprised that something like this came out because, like Joey says, I never heard of like, oh, these advisors and all these players are coming together, ex-players are coming together to find a new GM. This is like crazy news for something like this. But so I am kind of surprised that they're going about it this way, but I think it could be good change. Nobody knows what's going to come out of this. It could be something positive. It could be something negative. But at the end of the day, like I said, these three guys know how to win. And I think that they're going to try and turn this franchise around.
There was so much negative hot water going into the season with the whole Aldrich stuff that they need to win back some fans. So
I completely agree with you. I was surprised when I read the letter from Danny Wirtz. I was like, wow, three players, and they didn't even wait for Taves and Kane. Three players who are fresh. Two of them are freshly retired. One of them has been retired for a long time, but he's still in the game. I can't believe it. I was surprised. I will go as far to say as I was surprised because I think about other teams around the league. Like, everybody keeps saying the Chicago Bears do a very bad job at listening to some of the people who used to be in their organization, and Olin Kreutz and Lance Briggs. These guys have the best interest of the team in mind, and nobody listens to them, even though these guys know what it's like to be in the trenches and do what's got to be done in order to win football games. The same thing is applying here in hockey. Marian Hossa, Patrick Sharp, and Ed Olczyk all have seen what it's like to be out there, and you think they can come up with a couple names that will help Sportology inform Danny Wirtz who the best candidate is for the next general manager of the team. Because then you think about what the next general manager of the team needs to do. Okay, you need to handle Kyle Davidson's probably going to handle Marc-Andre Fleury, right? That's probably going to be his best audition. Is what do you do with Marc-Andre Fleury? He's got an expiring contract. They're 11 points out of a playoff spot. They're going nowhere. Marc-Andre Fleury's never missed the playoffs. You almost owe it to him to trade him to a team that's going to go to the postseason. He's one of the greatest goaltenders in the history of the sport. That's a great audition. Okay, what beyond that, though?
Yeah, I was going to say, not even just Fleury. Like, they are bad. The Blackhawks are straight up very,
and their
very
system
bad.
is horrible.
They are not, and it's not like they got like these pieces. Like, they got some good pieces in the pipeline, yeah, but they don't have anything to turn this team around next year.
Okay, and let me ask you something. Kirby Doc leading you to a Stanley Cup?
I don't think so.
I don't. You passed on Bowen Byram, who has had some concussion issues, but if he ever comes back, he was outstanding for the Avalanche before the concussion. How about Ian Mitchell? I used to be high on Ian Mitchell. You think he's looking like a number one defenseman these days? No. What about Nicholas Baudin? How about the fact that Trevor Zegras is looking like he should have gone second overall in his draft behind Jack Hughes? Jack Hughes is just about points. No, I mean,
This is Zegras' rookie year, dude.
yeah, but
I wouldn't be
they're
surprised if
the same age though.
I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 years from now Zegras is
Oh, I would. Jack Hughes, Zegras didn't have to play on a bad team at 19. Yeah, no shot. I could see the difference. Maybe I'm biased. I could see the difference. But, Kirby Doc was a disaster of a pick. And they traded Yoki Haru. They traded, Tara Vinen. All these guys who were supposed to be these top prospects that helped the team transition, they're either not hitting or, they're not doing what they can. I like, what's his name? Reichel. He didn't look out of place. He played on the first line, but is he going to have 85, 90 points a season? Maybe. That could happen. There's no doubt about it. But this team, they're locked into Seth Jones for the next 1,000 years. That's going to be a cap casualty in 5. Do you think they're going to be competitive during his prime? Maybe not. So the next GM's plan has to be what sells these guys. Hey, how are you going to build this organization from the ground up? Taves and Kane each have a year and a half left. What's your plan? Hey, Alex DeBrincat has 1 year left at a very cheap for his level of production year. What's your plan? Hey, Seth Jones makes $9 million a year for the next 8 years, and he'll be 38 by the time it ends. Not literally 38. He'll be in his mid-30s. What's your plan? That, to me, has to be what Ed Olczyk, Marian Hossa, and Patrick Sharp need to come up with, and I don't know what your thoughts, Frank.
Yeah, some of the stuff you said, do you ever think like the players would have been better on a different team? Like, would Doc be elite on the Avalanche? Is it just sometimes I think it's the system?
I think that's possible.
And the players
Possible.
around him
Very
too.
possible.
It's possible.
Because you don't know. I mean, the way the Hawks have been playing and the system that they run, I don't think that gives some of the players on the team enough credit, because then people just assume that these players are not living up to expectations. But it also could be that the system that's being run with the team, like, we don't know how they would be on elite teams, and we don't know the type of stuff, how would they produce on elite teams, right? I mean, you look at Panarin, he was great with the Hawks, he was elite with the Hawks, and he's elite with the Rangers. So, I mean, that wouldn't really, that doesn't show to my point what I'm talking about, but you don't know how players are going to be with different teams. But I agree that these 3 players need to find a plan. I don't think Kyle Davidson's the answer either. I think they need to go to Davidson, kind of give him a test, right? Like you said, you could test him with Fleury. You could test him with, expiring contracts with DeBrincat or whatnot. But ultimately, I think that they will put him to the test a little bit, and then they're going to go their separate ways with him. They're going to find somebody else, with somebody who's got a better interest in mind.
Sure. Joe, I just want to point out to you that you could take your disrespectful ass to Jack Hughes, who has 27 points in 28 games so far this season. 27 points in 28 games, 0.96 points per game. Zegras is outstanding. He has 32 points in 42 games played. Jack Hughes is significantly but they're the same age. Zegras never had to play third line on a bad team.
I'm not arguing that. Okay, it might have taken Zegras a little longer to make it to that NHL level, but Zegras is, in my opinion, the undoubtedly Calder Trophy winner this year, and he will go on to be a consistent 80-plus point guy in the National Hockey League.
I couldn't agree more. I just think if the draft were redone, Hughes would still go 1
right now. I literally said. That's not what I said 5 minutes. I said in 3 years, I wouldn't be surprised if Zegras continues pushing through that ceiling.
So do I. So do I.
22 Jump Street, remember?
Yeah, dude, he was taken 10th. It's a joke that he fell that far. And I had a tweet that said he should go 5th. And even I was wrong saying 5th. I took heat on that tweet too, because I thought he was better than Turcotte and Cousins and Doc. The only ones I had ahead of him were Hughes, Kakko, which dead wrong about Kakko. He stinks. Bowen Byram, of course. And then Zegras probably should have went 4th is what I was thinking at the time. And then now I would, if the draft were redone, I'd probably put Zegras 2nd. 27 points in 28 games playing on this team. Very good for Jack Hughes. So Trevor Zegras and Hughes will be battling out, I think, as the draft's leading scorers. probably forever, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would have to look at the draft kind of more extently, but I mean, some of this like Zegras, like I feel like he just keeps raising his own ceiling every week.
Well, here's one thing I'll say about Zegras compared to Jack. He's a little bit bigger, so he has more comfort displaying some of that skill. Like if Jack Hughes tried the Michigan behind the net, he'd get destroyed because he's a full foot shorter than Zegras. You know what I'm saying? And Zegras is probably on a team that's harder to play against, which creates more room for him, where the Devils are so soft. We'll get into them in the second period, but they're so soft that, it makes things harder. So I kind of agree with Frankie in that aspect too. Like situation means everything. Now that Jack Hughes is like really starting to grow, we're able to see his full potential. We're not seeing that from Kirby Dach. And I don't know if it's too late. I don't think he's a very good second line center or an outstanding third line center would be great for Kirby Dach at this point. I just don't see him becoming Taves.
Yeah, I don't either.
And as of right now, Frank, the Blackhawks are 16, 22, and 7 with 39 points. They are now 11 points back of the postseason line. They have more games played than a lot of teams in front of them, but not the team they are currently chasing, which is the Calgary Flames. And they host the Minnesota Wild tonight, who, as Scott so astutely points out in the chat, they play significantly harder and stronger than the Blackhawks do. But this is the last game that the Hawks have to play before our next show. Frank, what are you expecting from the game?
I'm hoping the Hawks could steal one because it's not going to be easy, especially with the way the Minnesota Wild have played. The Wild have won 8 out of the last 9 games, and their only loss was in Colorado in a shootout. So, I mean, you can't really fault them there. They've been on fire.
They're really 9 games removed from the Winter Classic. Man, time flies.
Yep, 8-9. They've won 8 out of 9 games. Their only loss was in a shootout to Colorado. And I'm just hoping the Hawks could really steal one here. Obviously, their season's over. It's time to start thinking about the postseason, the 2022-2023 season or whatnot. And I thought the Hawks were going to having a little pick-me-up. They beat Vegas, and that Vegas win when they beat Vegas 2-1 stemmed for them going on a 4-game win streak. And I said, all right, well, maybe there's still time because at that time there was a little bit of time. I'm like, if they could string together a long, lengthy win streak, oh my God, that'd be great. But since that 4-game win streak, they've gone 1-4-2. They fell off a cliff. They hit a brick wall.
Well, shout out to us for that one win.
And we did. We predicted that one.
We called that shit.
And they lost those games in that win streak. They lost to. They're losing to teams they should have beat. They lost to the Seattle Kraken. I mean, and there were other games in there that they should have won too. That there were like 1-goal games, but there were also some games that they shouldn't have won that they won. That one game, like I don't think Vinny agreed with us on that. We thought they're going to win. He called us nuts, but they won the game.
They put up the 2-point conversion against the Red Wings.
Yeah. So
Frank, another game they should have won there. I just because I was watching this game, it was against the Minnesota Wild when they let the Wild tie the game late with the goalie pulled, and then they lost it in overtime. That was a couple Saturdays ago.
That's the difference. That's what Scotts points out.
And yeah, that's a good point. Those are the games you have to win. Those are crunch time. Late period goals, you can't let up these late period goals. You got to hold on to leads. You got to clamp down. Those are what the best teams in the NHL are capable of, and that's why they win consistently. And the Hawks just aren't doing that right now. So I'm not saying it's impossible for the Hawks to win tonight because we know hockey is a weird sport. It is very hard to predict.
I don't know if you saw anything yesterday, but
it's a very weird sport.
You know, the Kraken giving teams a scare from time to time, eh, Joe?
So
nothing's
impossible.
No, okay.
We talked about weeks ago about if the Jaguars were to beat the Colts, and I was like, oh, the Jaguars are 14-point underdog. But sports are weird. So I'm not saying they're gonna lose this game 100%, but they're gonna need to absolutely be guns blazing and steal one from the Minnesota Wild if they plan on winning this game.
Yes. The one thing that's funny about sports, people who get mad about like your predictions in sports crack me up because like, have you not watched sports before? Like anything can happen. The only time I ever get like truly passionately mad about sports is when we debate things that have already happened that appear cut and dry to me. Like, for example, the San Francisco 49ers, who were clearly a good football team this season. And, but when you're predicting the future, though, like, I think to myself, like, If you ever watched sports, before the 9-7 New York Football Giants went into Green Bay and beat Brett Favre for an opportunity to face the 18-0 New England Patriots and beat them. Like, get out of here getting so mad about picking futures. The Minnesota Wild could absolutely end a little streak tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. So calling him a bottom six grinder is absolutely inaccurate because there's no way he's ever a grinder. If anything, he's like I would say Doc's floor is like a 40-point third line center. You know who's a good floor for Doc, Joe? That I think Charlie Coyle.
Whoa.
If Doc turns out to be Charlie Coyle,
CC13 he's playing some big minutes right now.
CC13's max is like a 40-50 point third line center.
CC13 is out there at the end of the game with a 3-2 lead,
Yeah. And if CC13 was a little bit better, the Bruins would be that much higher in the NHL standings. That is just my opinion.
They actually made a good point real quick before we get
we're talking Bruins in the next period.
Yeah,
all right, fine. But I'm going to forget. This always happens. Like, I want to say something.
I'll remind you.
Okay.
So, any last thoughts on the Blackhawks before we do head over to period number 2 so Joey could just not shut up about the Bruins for 15 minutes? Frank, thoughts on the Hawks?
I do think that Doc could be one of those players that could explode at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he has the potential and the skill to do that, like maybe next year.
Yeah, I'm not out on Doc.
I'm not out on Doc. I just don't think he, as of right now.
If you surround him by the right players and you put him in the right system, I do think he would be a really good player, better than what he's performing right now. And you don't know what we're going to see from him. But he is that type of player that I could be like, oh, next year he's got 70 points. Everybody's like, wow, this is Doc. But then maybe the year after, he's back to the way he is. But he does have the skill and capability, I think, to explode at any moment, given the right situation he's put in and the right players that are around him.
I would sign up for Doc to be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Charlie Coyle. I just would. I absolutely would. No, as of right now, I don't think legit 2C, but as Frankie points out, he has the skill to do it. I'm just not sure he will.
I think he can. I think he's been placed into a very unlucky situation here.
No doubt.
So
no doubt. And it was a bad pick. Whenever you're a bad pick from the second it's made, it's not good for your mental state either. Because there's no way that Kirby Doc didn't hear a-holes like me write and tweet and say about how bad of a pick it was.
If he could turn into Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who I believe that's who you're referring to.
RNH, yeah.
That would be sick. Like
that's
that
what
would be
I
a
just
win.
said. That's what I just said.
I could see it.
An example.
It helps to switch to wing when McDavid shows up. That's all I'll say about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Here's why I think I'm not out on Doc. If you were to put Doc on a team that really needs a second line center who already has the established depth on their team, like the Bruins, let's say you were to send Doc over to Bruins to play with David Pastrnak and Taylor Hall on that second line. I think Kirby Doc you would instantly see a bona fide second line center.
You know where Doc I think would fit in well too? You're going to think I'm crazy because you hate them. But when I think of Kirby Doc, I think of like Artem Anisimov. Maybe he might have more skill than Anisimov, but people forget how skilled. But Anisimov was extremely skilled. I want no disrespect to Anisimov.
Anisimov was an extremely smart hockey player. Kirby Doc does have skill. And I appreciate real quick Arthur here acknowledging the work ethic that Charlie Coyle has, because Charlie Coyle does work his ass off.
He works his balls off.
Yeah.
That's Minnesota Wild in him. The Wild, and he learned that from Zach Parise. There's no doubt in my mind. The Minnesota Wild instilled that work ethic. Every player on the Minnesota Wild, it's part of their culture. It's like the blood of the Minnesota Wild is just working your ass off the whole time that you're there. So, shout out to Coyle for that. Artem Anisimov was a great player, and his best years came as a centerman with wingers that can drive play. Most lines rely on the centers to drive play. That's just how hockey works. But if you can put what's his name, Doc, on a team like the Bruins, or I was going to bring up the Maple Leafs, if they needed a cheap option for their second line center or even third line center, you put them with someone like Kerfoot or Ilya Mikheyev or something like that. I
good buddies with Marner. They seem like they'd make a good friend.
Yeah, but like they have Tavares and Matthews, which makes things different. But Taylor Hall and Pasternak can drive offense like a center from the wing. And if you put Kirby Dach on a line where, as a centerman, he doesn't need to have the puck on his stick as much as a traditional center like Taves, like Hughes, like some of these other centers that drive offense by having the puck, you plant them in front of the net. Anisimov was outstanding in and around the net. He'd bank in Patrick Kane rebounds, or he would feed Kane in the slot because he was so good from behind the net. That's actually a really good – that popped in my head right here. Anisimov is like a great comp for what I would like to see Dach become. And then we saw the Hawks were able to win the West with a center like Anisimov as their 2C, where on the Rangers he was doing the same thing, playing in that role, Anisimov. So we'll see what happens. I'm rooting for Kirby Dach. I really am, because he's a nice kid. Nice kid, good player, lots of skill. The situation's tough as of right now.
It is. And I see him kind of like as that center, though, who would want to drive his own line. That's the kind of center I see Kirby Dach as.
But can he do it at the NHL level?
I don't know.
Sometimes in order to succeed in the NHL, you have to give up your role and adjust to what makes you an impactful player. Like, think about every, grinder in the NHL. Not grinder. There's no such thing as really a grinder anymore. But, every bottom six forward was the best player on his junior team scoring-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Like Ryan Reeves. I think Kevin Bieksa was a forward or a defenseman, right? Who was the other? Oh, Zach Cassian. Zach Cassian went third overall. Cassian went third overall in his junior draft. I think it went Taylor Hall, Adam Henrique, Zach Cassian. And Cassian was a 100-point guy in the OHL. And then he comes to the NHL. You got to carve out roles that fit. It's hard. And so we'll see if Dach is able to do that. Like you two, I'm rooting for him, and I'm rooting for the Hawks to get this thing turned around. And I think Ed Olczyk, Marian Hossa, and Patrick Sharp will do them a favor in achieving that goal.
I agree.
And with that, I'm taking the thunder from you, Frank. I would like you to send it over. Go for it.
To period 2.
And welcome to period 2, where we will have general NHL chatter. Joe, the Bruins go.
Wow.
Put him on a spot.
You put me on the spot here. I want to engage with everyone.
And Joe, don't forget what you were going to say. That remind you.
Yeah, I was going to say we were talking about Charlie Coyle, but I don't even know how this tied into my brain. We were talking about Coyle and him playing in a third line role, and they were playing the Kraken yesterday, and they were showing some of the highlights when they acquired Marcus Johansson in their 2019 Cup run, because Johansson's on the Kraken and he's on an expiring deal this year, and the chemistry between those two is it's unreal. It was instant. So they were talking about the potential of a trade deadline move of reacquiring Marcus Johansson to play with Charlie Coyle in a third line role, and I think that would be pretty sick. That's all I was going to say last period before I was told I can't say that. But when you mentioned another thing I thought of last period, when you mentioned that Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak, who are playing on the second line right now, driving offense, and they really don't need a center who can drive offense because those two wingers are able to do it, effectively. I've seen in the past week Eric Haula center that line and do okay, but yesterday Tomas Nosek was awesome as that second line center, and that's not really a guy you think of as a second line center, but they threw him in between. Player. They threw him in between Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak, and Pasta had 2 goals, Taylor Hall with the third, and there were the 3 Bruins goals. So I mean, honestly, they're one really elite center from having 2 unreal lines. So we'll see what happens with the Bruins in that as we approach that trade deadline. But the Bruins, as of late, have been very good. I really can't complain. Yeah, they lost against Dallas and Colorado, but I mean, Colorado, man, I just wanted to talk about them real quick. They tied the NHL record for the most wins in a month. I don't know if either of you saw that. They didn't lose a single home game in the month of January. They won 10 in a row in general. It's just amazing what we saw from the Colorado Avalanche. And last night, when we I don't know, Frank, if you were looking at the lines at all, but I believe they were minus 570 money line. the Colorado Avalanche to win at home against the Arizona
Then I say
Coyotes.
just go against Colorado because they're going to lose eventually to a team they
And
shouldn't.
for a hockey game to be, that's the highest I've ever seen. I don't know about you.
They were like -7 something a couple weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
A hockey game minus, like you could have
I've
taken.
never seen that before.
I'm pretty sure you could have taken the Coyotes plus 2 goals instead. It still would have been plus
Yeah,
odds.
it's ridiculous.
That is insane. And then sure as shit, the biggest time since 2015 that a team that was plus 410 on some sites won a hockey game. So that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, back to the Bruins. They won against Seattle. That was their last game until the next time they play is against Pittsburgh at home. So it'll be kind of cool to see the Pittsburgh Penguins in action. But I get to wait a week and enjoy this time off stress-free as we approach the All-Star break.
And that's next Wednesday?
No, it's next Tuesday. It's a week from yesterday. They play Pittsburgh in Boston.
Ooh,
And I don't think
can't
they've
wait for
played.
that.
I don't think they've played Pittsburgh yet this year. I can't remember seeing any of those Pens. So those gold on gold matches are always fun and entertaining for me. Always good games too.
Yeah, I used to love Penguins Bruins, and they definitely got to play. They got to play each other last year, but both teams felt like something was off last year. I don't know if you felt the same way about the Bruins. I know you were optimistic, but something seemed to feel off about both teams last year, even though it was pretty obvious that they were both going to go to the playoffs. But
The first
I
half
think
of
both
last
teams
year,
both teams are better this year, even though the Bruins struggled to start. The COVID and the schedule, I just think the Bruins are in a better spot right now
oh, they are.
than they
In
were
the
last
first
year,
half,
and of course, so are the Penguins.
yeah, in the first half of last year, being with no fans, I think really affected the Bruins a lot. They are a home team. They're so good at home. You look at their home record. That's just a tough place to play. The Bruins fans make that a tough place to play, and it showed last year. You know, in the bubble, and it's showing this year with fans. So, and yeah, I highlight Arthur's comment again. I'm looking at a David Krejci jersey right now, and I see it every day. It just stares at me, hoping that one day I wake up and see on Twitter that David Krejci's in Boston.
I think the Bruins will always at least be a somewhat competitive team, even when Bergeron and Marchand retire and they move on a little bit. They might go through a little bit of a lull, even though McAvoy and Pasternak are young. There might be a year or two there where they retool again, like they did in 2015 and 2016. I think having that TD Garden as home ice advantage will always at least play in their favor, where they will never necessarily be able to bottom out.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to show. We'll let you talk a little bit about the Bruins before.
Yeah, I want to hear Frankie. I want to hear Frankie's analysis on what you said about the Bruins while you do that.
Because I want to look for a clip.
Yeah, I mean the Bruins are doing everything right lately. Obviously, they're not perfect. No NHL team is perfect, but they've really been clicking on all cylinders. And Joe, I was a little confused on why you transitioned to Colorado and the Bruins talk. What were you?
What was that?
The Bruins played the Avalanche.
Oh,
yeah,
because
they played them after the Hawks, yeah, and then
the Avalanche. I love the Avalanche. They're undoubtedly my second favorite team, like to watch and be a fan of. I am all in. It was the biggest fuck you to me watching the Bruins play them. The Bruins were up 3-1.
When it happened, I was like, "Oh no!"
The Bruins were up 3-1. They were playing so good. They were capitalizing on the power play, which the Bruins rely most on their power play for their offensive output more than any other team. I saw like the actual numbers the other day. Their goal percentage comes from power play goals more than any other team. So Don't take penalties against the Bruins.
Let Frankie get his thoughts on the Bruins really quick.
But yeah, so as I was saying, they're doing great. They're second half of the season. They're going to have a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. Tuukka Rask is back. He's been a little shaky lately, but I think that just gets better with time. And like Arthur said, they really miss Krejci. He would be a huge piece to the puzzle to add back too. But you got McAvoy, Pasternak, Marchand, Bergeron. I mean, everything's clicking right now for the Bruins. So they don't have much to change, but they do need to get a little bit more consistent, because it's like one game they win, and then one game they'll choke a lead like to the Avalanche. Or like I want to see consistent wins from them going forward.
Yeah, in that Avalanche game, it was they were playing good. It was 3-1, and then Gabe Landeskog ties it with the goalie pulled, so they're going to overtime, and then who of all people, the guy that I will not shut up about, Cale Makar, my favorite player on that team, puts the dagger in my heart. But yeah, Frank, I want to tell you, Vin, who's my favorite player on the Bruins? Always has been for the past decade.
That would be number 40 goaltender Tuukka Rask.
Okay, so I want you to just kind of see my perspective here, how kind of torn I am. Tuukka Rask
I know what
is
you're
hurt.
going to show.
Tuukka Rask is hurt again, and until he came back and until he signed this 1-year deal for $900,000, a complete steal from a Hall of Fame goaltender, best goalie in franchise history, Tuukka Rask. Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman, they've become great friends. The chemistry, a lot of people, Bruins reporters, the media people, everyone is saying, it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's hard for me to, get on board with that because of how much love I have for Tuukka Rask and how much I want to see him hoist that Stanley Cup as the number one goalie. But he gets hurt again. He gets on the shelf. It's a lower body injury. It's very concerning. I'm genuinely starting to worry that I might never see Tuukka Rask play in the playoffs again for the Boston Bruins, because yesterday they get their first win. Linus Ullmark in net, and Jeremy Swayman is the first time backing him up, and this is their reaction. They do this thing where they hug after every win, no matter who's in net, and the crowd erupted after this happened, and it's honestly magical. This tandem right here, they're great friends. So it's tough. Who knows when the next time we'll see Tuukka Rask? But I mean, it's sad for someone who loves the guy as much as I do. But I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark, they are that tandem that is unreal right now.
So I got to ask you, Joe, and this is a hard-hitting question. I'm sorry. I really am, because I know what it's like to love players. Tom just retired. Parisi's on his second team removed from the Devils now. I know what it's like. But if you're Ullmark and if you're Swayman, you're thinking to yourself, we've been fucking nails all year long. We got the bees in a play. Where are the Bruins? We got the bees in a playoff spot in a year where we've had COVID and Krejci's gone and, dealing with a slow start by Pasternak, and Marchand's the only one on the team that's really scoring. And this is at the beginning of the year, not right now, obviously. Pasternak, yeah. And so is Bergeron. They're all back, healthy, feeling good about themselves again. But in the beginning of the year, when times were tough, the only time the Bruins were winning was when these two guys stole games. And the top four could really use another defenseman. You didn't really think that was going to be an issue going into the season. And John Moore, guys like that just not playing up to their potential. We're Ullmark and we're Swayman. And then Tuukka Rask comes back and we just get thrown to the wayside. The guy, he didn't do training camp. He hasn't been through the grind like we have. This guy thinks he could just take a little bit of a snooze and then come back when he pleases. Listen, Tuukka Rask has earned that right. He's one of the 5 best goalies from the year 2000 to today. I truly believe that. It's Brodeur, it's Lundqvist. I'm talking 2000 to now. It's Brodeur, it's Lundqvist, it's Price, Fleury, Luongo. Rask is right there in that conversation. There's no doubt about it. But if you're Ullmark and Swayman, I'm not giving up my job to Tuukka Rask that easily. I'm not going to be happy for the guy that I don't get to play now. I don't want to play in the AHL if I'm Swayman and I have a .920 save percentage in the National Hockey League. Get out of here with that. I'm going to be excited when we do this kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. And Tuukka Rask wasn't that good in his return. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I kind of agree with you. Yeah,
Jeremy Swayman has played, better than average at the NHL. I believe he's got a 2.2 something goals against average. You said over .915 save percentage, and him and it's not easy to come by a tandem like that in goal, especially when it's a 1A, 1B kind of situation, which is pretty much what it was all year for Ullmark and Swayman. And the relationship that they've built together, that friendship that they have. And then it was even sad. I follow the Providence Bruins on all social media, and it was even sad, seeing Jeremy Swayman, playing in Providence. He deserves better than that. If it was up to me, and I believe Bruce Cassidy is one of the best coaches in the NHL. He's defending Jack Adams Trophy.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, did he win it? The year before? I don't know. He won a Jack Adams Trophy within the past 2 years.
And he was nominated 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah. One of the best coaches in the league. I believe he always says this. He's going to start whoever he believes gives them the best chance to win that given hockey game, and I believe that's what he'll do going forward. I hope Tuukka Rask comes back after this All-Star break healthy. I don't understand why or the whole rules behind taxi squads. I would like to see if Jeremy Swayman isn't eligible for taxi squad, rotate Allmark and Tuukka on the taxi squad. I know it's going to be hard throwing the $5 million or whatever Allmark's making on a taxi squad, but I mean, if you're able to roll 3 goaltenders, kind of like they were able to last year with Halak, Swayman, and Rask, that's what they did. That's something I would like to see because I don't want to see. That's my new wallpaper is that picture of Allmark and Swayman hugging, and I don't want to see them split up anymore. So it's a tough situation. I just want what's best for this team to win hockey games.
Frank, closing thoughts on the Bruins?
I mean, there's nothing really else to say. I thought that video that I saw of the two of them hugging, I thought that was pretty cool.
You should have heard the building.
After every win.
I do it after every win, and fans know. Fans catch on to this shit. So it gets the fans involved. I don't know how to play sound. Last time I was having difficulty, so I wasn't even going to try. But the TD Garden erupted when they hugged like that, and they were like kind of jumping up and down, and it was honestly one of the coolest things I've seen all year.
And a lot of people just don't understand with sports, and people who don't watch sports as much as we do, is that it's more about the game, and these players actually create these bonds. It's not always just about the sport they're playing, but these guys create bonds, and that's just nice to see from like a human stand or perspective too. And I just the Bruins they're playing great hockey right now.
Another sad thing, when Allmark got one of his wins and Tuukka Rask was the backup. After the win, Tuukka comes up, they give him the old headbutt, and they go their separate ways. Like, these guys barely know each other. So it's like everyone is thinking when they see that Jeremy Swayman should be hugging him right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Last night when I wrote out our notes to this show, I was very upset. The Devils had just gotten smoked by the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know how that makes me feel. You know how I feel when the Devils lose. I might not show it because I don't want everyone in the world to think I'm just some jackass who you have to avoid when the Devils lose. But deep down inside, it burns when the Devils lose. Like, it really does. That's my team. Okay? I've been riding and dying with that team for like 12 years now. And I was planning on coming on this show and having one of my like Vinny rants. But I woke up this morning today and I don't have it in me. I got a little more fired up talking about disturbing Allmark and Swayman than I can muster up to talk about the Devils. I mean, they're just a disgrace. They were winning 4-2 going into the third period on Monday. And then I got a text from Joey saying, "Can I get a fuck the Leafs?" And knowing in my head that would just be a clown thing to say right now. No, I should have said it.
I actually said
you could have like you could have taken a screenshot then of me saying that and then put it on Twitter like clowning me.
No, I wouldn't have done that. I actually said when they were winning, I said, "Let me get a Leafs stink," and you said maybe after. And then after they lost, I said, "Can I get a fuck the Leafs?"
And what did I say?
You said, "Fuck the Devils," which I didn't even reply because I'm like, okay, now we're playing with hot fire here.
You were playing with hot fire. I was on fire after they blew that game. When you're watching as long as I have been, you learn some things. Joey told me off camera while we were watching football a couple Sundays ago that doing this show and my job with Fansided and all that has taken the fan out of me. And that, first of all, that's just not true.
I didn't say it about everything. I didn't say you're not a fan. I didn't say that about the Devils or anything. I just said that literally about football. But
you meant it like with my favorite teams too. I really don't see things with rose.
I said it about one game because you were genuinely like rooting for the Bills. I feel like
I was not rooting for the Bills. I knew for a fact they were going to get killed, and they did.
And you care more about being right than your favorite team's winning.
I mean, I was right about the Devils. I had them coming in 7th place in the division. They might come in last. The only team that could end lower than them is Philly, who doesn't like winning any games at all anymore either. But, like, it's just a disgusting disgrace. Like, why look like a fool over rooting? Like, over your favorite team that just keeps losing. Like if they were in contention, I'd be okay with looking like a fool if they ultimately fell short in like
It's
the
not
second
really
round.
looking like a fool when you're rooting for your team, though.
Maybe.
Like that's what I'm saying. Where like you're rooting to look right over your team winning.
Maybe. But when you say that about the Bills, though,
Like I rooted for the Patriots every single drive. I rooted for that defense every drive, and I was wrong every single drive.
That's fine.
Did that make me look like a fool?
No, and I wasn't even trying to look right. When someone asks me for my betting advice, I start every response with, "I'm not perfect. Just because I write about sports and talk about sports doesn't mean that I like know what's coming. Otherwise, I'd be a billionaire living on a beach watching the sports on my iPad in the sun instead of dealing with the snowpocalypse that we just dealt with." But when I give somebody betting advice, I give it from the true grace of my brain that I think is real. And so when the Bills start destroying the Patriots, when I just told someone 5 minutes before to bet the Bills because I don't think the Patriots have a chance, and they score on every single touchdown drive, I feel smart. And when the Bills score, I look at them and take a sip of my drink with my pinky up. That's just how I feel about like the whole betting thing. But as far as the Devils, I got nothing. I'm not saying Leafs suck when the Devils are beating them 4-2 with a period to go. But no, I definitely disagree with this take. Dougie Hamilton hasn't played in 13 games, and the Devils have lost 10 of their last 11 now.
I was just
they've
won 3 games since the new year started.
Yeah, and Dougie Hamilton has only played in those 3.
Yeah.
So let's cool it on the Dougie hate. Dougie Hamilton's amazing, and the Devils might not have lost 10 of their last 11 if he didn't take a puck to the face. Ooh, I'm starting to elevate my voice. That's not good news. I don't want to do that. They need an overhaul. You keep Hughes, Heishier, Hamilton, and Mercer, and you figure out the rest. I would keep Bratt too, personally.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Bratt's developing into quite the offensive guy on that team.
Jack Hughes has a higher points per game by a lot, but he missed about 10 games with that shoulder injury from the game against the Kraken, the second of the season. But I think the world of Jack Hughes. I think he's the best player from his draft class, and it's not close. I do think he's better than Zegras. I think he's a lot better than Zegras. Zegras is a little more flashy, so he's on the Twitter sphere a lot more. Hughes just makes pretty passes and takes nice shots, and he's on a very bad team. Anaheim's competing for the Pacific Division. Zegras is more in the spotlight. Jack Hughes is a significantly better player than every player in his draft class. I have no issue saying that, and I believe it will continue to stay that way. And I'm not worried that he only had 7 goals in his rookie season when he was 19 playing on a bad team that fired their coach halfway through. What I will say is outside of those guys, I hate the owners. I hate the coach. And I'm sorry that Lindy Ruff is away from the team dealing with his father's passing. My true condolences to him. I'm truly sorry about that. But he's not the guy to be coaching this team. Just everything about this team just hasn't worked. Arthur must have not been here when I compared Zegras' and Hughes' stats. Zegras has 32 points in 42 games, and Jack Hughes has 27 points in 28 games. So the points per game is not even close. The skill is just outstanding for both of them, and I believe they will be the 2 best players from their draft class. But I think anybody in an executive position would take Hughes over Zegras any day of the week. But beyond Jack Hughes and sometimes Nico Hischier, I got nothing on the Devils. I mean,
I got
it was just a disgrace to watch them blow that game in the third period. And the only thing I will say, I said this to Sam Wu on our post-game podcast. The Toronto Maple Leafs did that 2 games in a row. They were losing going into the third by multiple goals against the Red Wings and then scored 5 unanswered in the third. And then they came back by scoring 5, and then they did the same thing against the Devils. So and then in the last game, they just blew them out of the water and won the game 7-0. So I don't really know. What do you have?
I think their goaltending, literally from top to bottom, all 3 guys that they've had.
They've had 6 goalies play this season.
All 3 guys that they've had like consistently for the bulk of the games have been terrible. All with a north of 3 goals against, which just won't cut it in today's NHL. And then you kind of lump in the Dougie Hamilton injury with, we all know how good he is offensively, but he's, pretty good defensively as well.
Yeah.
And he gives them like
He
the
came in
best chance.
fourth for the Norris Trophy last
He
year.
gives them the best chance they have to win a hockey game when he's in the lineup. And when he's not in the lineup, you've seen how it's gone since 2022 began. And then because you look at some of their offensive guys, Brett's leading the way with 41 points, which those are all-star numbers in my opinion. We won't get into that. And then you mentioned Jack Hughes, his point per game. He missed some time with injuries. He's unreal. And then it's actually some pretty spread out depth for scoring. Yeah, you look for a little more consistency from some forwards like Sharon Govich and Pavel Zacha. But aside from that, they're getting offensive numbers from Dougie Hamilton and Damon Severson. So I think it really comes down to the defensive play on the back end, especially in the depth positions like those second and third pairings. And then the goaltending is just atrocious. But if you look at their offense, I'd say it's a pretty easier quicks. Like I think they're in a much better spot than the Blackhawks are, or the Kraken are, or the Coyotes are. So
it's disgusting to watch.
You got to look at it with a half glass full mentality for the New Jersey Devils.
Frank?
Yeah, Joe, if you weren't going to bring up the goaltending situation, I was going to bring it up because I've had numerous conversations with Vinny about Blackwood and how I don't think he's the answer for the Devils right now. And I stick by that strongly still. They really need to get something going with their goaltending. I don't know who they got in their farm system. They plan on drafting a goalie or what their plan is going forward in the goaltending situation. But I think that is one of their biggest downfalls as of right now. And I think everything else will come together once the glue is put together at goaltending.
That's fair enough. I have high hopes for Blackwood in the future. He hasn't played in 3 weeks, and now he's probably out for the year because he's going to get second opinions on his heel, and I wonder how much that impacted the way he played this year. Because do you guys both agree he was outstanding last year and the year before?
He was all right.
Last year...
I wonder if COVID got in his head a little bit. Wasn't there issues with him?
Yeah, and he was the second to last player to get vaccinated in the NHL.
Yeah.
By second to last, he's also the most recent because I'm pretty sure Bertuzzi still hasn't. But, it is what it is. Hopefully they find somebody if it's not him.
It's not Bernier either, I'll tell you that much.
Well, Bernier probably will play next year. Bernier's fine.
I think he's a good B goalie, a solid.
If he never got hurt, this team would be better than they are. They would not have lost 10 of their last 11.
Yeah, but I don't think Bernier is one of those guys you roll every other game. Like he's not a 1B. He's a 2 goalie who you have a goalie who's going to start 65% of the games and then Bernier will start the other 35.
Yeah, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at on that. What hockey story has your attention right now? Frank, I'll start with you.
Well, we brought it up, and that's why I was wondering why Joey brought up the Avalanche. But
that's what I was going to say for this too. But we all already talked about the Avalanche. So
but how could we not talk
you have to mention it? You have to mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got some crazy points just written down, and just to the point of why you never know about in sports what's going to happen. So the Avalanche home winning streak came to an end yesterday. 18 in a row at home was officially snapped to the Arizona Coyotes. They lost 3-2 in a shootout. But it's not like the Avalanche played bad that game, okay? The Avalanche outshot the Coyotes 40-24. So they were dominating the whole game. And you look back at the previous times the Coyotes have won games. I think they beat Toronto when they got absolutely destroyed. They outshot them. They also beat somebody else when they were getting completely outshot. I don't know who was in goal last night, but if it was that kid again, that kid's been outstanding. It's just the Coyotes just don't have good enough defense, and they give up a lot of shots. But anyway, they were outshot 40-24. They didn't play bad by any means. And I said that they were going to lose to a team that they should beat, and they ultimately did. And the Coyotes just absolutely stink. They're the second worst team in the National Hockey League with 26 points. It's kind of crazy that it had to end like that.
It was Scott Wedgwood in that. So it wasn't the kid
who the Devils let go on waivers.
Whoever that kid is, though, I don't even know how to say his name. That kid
I picked him up in fantasy.
He is a stud too. I don't want any disrespect to that guy. The Coyotes stink, but that guy is just outstanding.
Yeah, he's starting tonight for them. Karel Vejmelka.
Yeah, he is.
Vejmelka, yeah. They say
But the only thing that I feel bad for the guy is no matter who the Coyotes play, they're always getting shit on. There's always 40 shots a game against this kid. And the kid's like, give me a break, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But they find out they win anyway.
And he doesn't have like great numbers. Like he's 6-17-1 with a 3.39 goals against Vejmelka. But though there are like those games like you're talking about where he will stand on his head, and there's not much better. He like you can't really blame him. He can't like his kid is actually playing unreal regardless of what his numbers show.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I agree. And like we talked about the betting odds, Frank, with those abs, that was unreal. I don't know if you saw this. I might as well just mention it now because I know we're going to talk about the All-Star game a little later, but another developing story is Alex Ovechkin will not participate at All-Star weekend because he's got COVID. And I stole yours?
Yeah, it's okay though. I got plenty.
Everybody's stealing everybody's stories.
I got plenty.
Yeah. So he's not playing tonight. Doesn't matter for me. We'll get into that later. But then
playing him?
No. When we get into our segment we do later. But Alex Ovechkin not going to be at the All-Star game, and that's definitely a personality and shot that you like to see in those events. So that sucks.
Yeah, and it really hurts me because I'm rooting for Team Metropolitan, obviously, and I would have loved to see Jack Hughes make another pass to Alexander Ovechkin and see if he's able to bury it, but we're not going to get to see that. And have you ever noticed, before I bring out my story, Ovechkin hates playing in the All-Star game. He only has like 2 or 3 times. He always seems to miss by giving up that game either right before or right after the All-Star break. I saw a meme of Alexander Ovechkin coloring in a line on a COVID test to miss the All-Star break, and he would have to miss this upcoming game this week against the Edmonton Oilers as well. But it just is kind of funny to me that this guy just never seems to play in the All-Star game, even though he's named every single year.
And I have to agree with what Arthur said too. He makes a great point. If Vejmelka was on any other team, imagine he's standing on his head when teams are getting 40 shots. You cut that even in half or even down, you don't know what the type of goalie he would be. But,
yeah.
But anyway, back to what you're saying, Vin. Yeah, it seems like Ovechkin's never. It's like he just doesn't want to. Like he does this on purpose. I feel like he's going to like let somebody cough on him who has COVID, or I don't know.
Absolutely. I would shut down Vejmelka. I'd send him to the Roadrunners for the rest of the season and try and win the draft lottery. Boy, yeah, I really would.
It's not like they're going anywhere. But...
And he's not necessarily stealing games. Like
they're
still losing a fair amount of games.
Yeah,
but I don't think they got to shut him down.
Maybe they already passed the Habs.
They got potential though.
They passed the Habs though.
I don't know if you saw these things. The NHL has been posting some like stats that they record throughout the year of like recorded hardest shots kind of in preparation for the All-Star. So I don't know if I kind of want to talk about some of them, but I don't know if you want to do it right now or next period.
Yeah, let's do it next period because I really want to do shot or no shot.
All right, remind me though, because it's pretty cool. Like they have, some of the top shots, the hardest shots of the season so far. Like that actually happened in game.
You can do it right after mine, right before shot or no shot. I just want to give my story really quick, but to go off yours, it is Tom Wilson replacing Alexander Ovechkin in the All-Star game, for those who don't know. So my story, of course, is something that I think has been a topic of conversation on this podcast a lot, and that's Jack Eichel. This guy is going to be coming back to the Vegas Golden Knights very, very soon. They're only in first place by 1 point in the Pacific Division, even though I do think they are a significantly better team than both Anaheim and Los Angeles. And if they add Eichel in, that team can really go on a run if he hits the ground running. If he has chemistry with his teammates, if he gets along with the coach, and if he personally is feeling good about his game, I like the Golden Knights when they add Eichel down the middle. So that's the story I was looking at as my backup in case Joey stole mine once again, in which he did. So, Joe, the floor is yours for those stats you wanted to share.
Oh, you do want me to do them now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the fastest recorded speed in an NHL game this year, it's actually a two-way tie for second place, and one guy has the top speed of 24.4 miles per hour. You're not going to guess who it is because it's not Connor McDavid.
Is it McKinnon?
No, it is Timo Meier.
Ooh.
Pretty cool. And then tied for second, this makes me very happy. It's Connor McDavid.
Is it Cale Makar?
And Cale Makar.
I thought he was going to be one, to be honest with you.
I knew he's got some wheels, and then some notable names underneath him. I mean, this is all decimals of miles per hour difference here. Nick Suzuki, Jordan Kyrou, Adrian Kempe, Troy Terry, Chris Kreider, leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League, Sebastian Aho, Kyle Connor, Jake Gensel, Kuznetsov, Goudreau, and Larkin. So they actually track every player's speed. So those are the fastest recorded speeds in games this year, which is pretty cool. And then I have the hardest recorded shots in games this year. None of them are north of 100, which kind of caught me off guard.
I'm not
But
surprised.
in a game, yeah.
You really have to lean into one by taking a stride into the puck like they do in the skills competition, and you just don't have the time and space to do that in an actual National Hockey League game.
Yeah. I mean, though you're gonna think I'm a clown, but the first one is 99.9 miles per hour. So, like, I mean, I guess it's like 100.
Didn't you just say nowhere north of 100? That's like near.
No one is north of 100.
No, but I thought you said it's nowhere near.
No,
north.
but even
no.
going in, I thought like 105 would be like the top, and then when you think about it deeply, like 100 miles per hour.
Someone might
like,
not hit 105 at the skills competition.
Yeah, I mean, Chara and Weber are no longer National Hockey League like stars anymore. So
yeah, and watching the skills competition for hardest shot, I'm like an anti-hero. I always root for like the low scores because I want to die never seeing someone shoot 108.8 miles per hour.
What if it was your kid?
Well, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool.
You pump, or like even like my kid or Frankie's kid.
Yeah,
I believe you, Frank. If we had a kid and they made it to the National Hockey League,
I would just tell them to practice to get that shot up.
But Joey would root for the Bruins when they play them. There is no doubt in my mind that if my kid got drafted to the show, Joey would be thrilled. He'd be the coolest uncle in the world. Until they play the Bruins, he'd want him toast.
Joe, I always wanted to ask you this question, so I'll just ask you on the spot in front of an audience because like there's no better time for this. If I was in the National Hockey League, right, I was a pretty good player. I was scoring goals. My team got in the playoffs, and we faced the Bruins. And me personally, eliminated the Bruins on an overtime goal in the playoffs, like or even to get to like the Stanley Cup. Would you feel like ill will towards me?
No, you didn't.
But you would be pissed.
I'd be sad.
I think you'd be pissed at me too. Like
you're a clown.
No, I wouldn't be sad at you. I'd be sad. I'd be happy for you, and I'd go on to root for you.
Like, there are times, there are certain points in life where like your loyalties to your childhood team like melt away for a season.
I would be happy for you. My rooting interest wouldn't change the outcome of the game.
No, but would you be pulling for me going forward to be like, this fucker's got to lose?
Yeah, I'd be pulling for you going forward. Yeah.
Would you be pulling for him in the series? Yeah, that's fucked up.
I don't know.
Who was the 99.9? You never said.
I was going to get to that. Victor Hedman has a recorded shot of 99.9.
It doesn't really surprise me either.
99.8 at 36 years old, still...
Big Z?
No, Alex Ovechkin. Big Z is like 45 now.
45 miles per hour?
No, 45 years old.
Like, this dude's like,
which I truthfully believe Big Z could still get it, north of 100.
I was gonna say, would he break his wrist or something?
Roman Josi 97.7, and then I'll just fly through these. Rasmus Dahlin 97. And a recorded game is pretty good. Alex Pietrangelo, Steven Stamkos, Kirill Kaprizov, Austin Matthews, Cale Makar again, which you really don't think of Cale Makar of having like that like a rocket, but Cale Makar at 94 miles per hour. Timo Meyer again, and Adrian Kempe. I
thought for sure Makar would be number one in the fastest skater. When I watch Colorado, these guys are zooming. Everybody on that team is quick. And I've seen the wheels on Cale Makar. So I was going to guess that he'd be the fastest. Like, if you're going to say, who do you think's number one?
And the fact that he's tied with Connor McDavid, like, everyone always thinks Connor McDavid doesn't blow away with the speed challenge anymore.
No, what makes Connor McDavid,
what was that?
What makes Connor McDavid known for his speed is that he doesn't slow down when he has the puck on his stick when everybody does.
And I don't think Cale Makar does either. Watch this kid.
Okay, yes, he does. Is that it on your cool stats? Those were cool stats. I appreciate knowing those.
Those are very cool.
Keep up. Keep up with those for the end of the year. I want to hear what they sound like by the time we get to May.
Yeah, I'll have my stat guy reach out to me.
Absolutely. You guys ready for Shot No Shot?
Let's do it.
Shot No Shot is a segment that I kind of stole from my favorite morning show, Cap and J Hood. I listen to them every single morning. Shout out friend of the program, David Kaplan. We have yet to get Jonathan Hood on our show, but David Kaplan has made his way on, so it's been fun. And of course, on the Shot or No Shot segment, a prompt is read to the guys, and they will respond with their answer of shot or no shot. So I start off with you guys. Teams like the New Jersey Devils, Ottawa Senators, Buffalo Sabres, Seattle Kraken, Philadelphia Flyers, and Chicago Blackhawks continue to lose. So I ask you, shot or no shot, one of them wins the draft lottery over the Arizona Coyotes and Montreal Canadiens. Joe, I'll start with you.
Shot.
You gotta unmute your
Shot.
mic. There you go.
Shot. Sorry, there's a rabid Yorkie on the loose. Yes, I'm gonna go with shot. The one of those teams will win it. The worst team does not win it. It's not the way it goes anymore. I know it's unlucky. I know they're guaranteed like what, a top 3 pick now, or did they change it to top 2? Vin?
Yes, top 2.
Top 2. I'm still gonna say no shot. I mean, it's very rare that the most deserving team wins it.
Frank?
Yeah, I was gonna say no shot as well, just because I'm an odds guy, and I like when I have all those combined odds from a team. It makes me feel like you gotta say no.
Yeah,
shot,
I'm not
right?
taking
like,
that.
I'm not going against percentages here.
Yeah, you got to take the field.
You got to take the field, and so yeah, I'm gonna go with no shot, or I'm gonna go with shot. That obviously, I think.
Yeah, whatever the
I
answer
have
is.
the
That
field
says.
over it, then yeah.
So you think that a team not called the Coyotes or Canadiens will win the draft lottery?
Yeah, just because of the percentage odds. I have better chance. I have more teams. There's more options. Yeah.
And they might not even be the worst team by the time the season ends.
I think they're going to be.
You never know, too. Yeah.
You never know.
Competition
I don't know. It depends how long Dougie's on the shelf for.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. He's probably going to play in their next game. He was a game time decision for this most recent one and ended up being a no. So after the All-Star break, he probably will be back. But I'm going shot. Or I'm going no shot. I think this is the year where one of the worst 2 teams win the draft lottery. It's been a while. And, you know, it's more fun when a team makes a jump. Like when the Devils move from 6 to win to get Heischer or 3 to win to get Hughes. We've seen some crazy ones like the Jets go up 11 spots to get Laine, or when the Hawks moved up 10 spots to get Kirby Dach. So, I don't know.
What's so funny?
Because I noticed earlier you were drinking a Diet Pepsi, and now you're drinking a Diet Sunkist. I'm just wondering how many drinks you have on tap.
I have 2 drinks on tap.
You must have not noticed very early in the show when I
didn't. See, I
was
just
crushing an A&W.
And then he gets mad when we go long because he's got to pee. Well, maybe don't drink 1,000 gallons of soda while we freaking.
Yeah, how bad do you have to pee right now?
I gotta go. It's like it's starting to come up.
Well, too bad. The Kings and the Ducks are in postseason contention. They were both rebuilding teams coming into this season, and they still are rebuilding teams. Some people think that rebuilding just means it's over when you start to win. No, that's not true. They're rebuilding. They're trying to continue to get better. They're not adding pieces quite yet in terms of free agents or anything like that. But there's a good chance they come in 2nd and 3rd place in the Pacific Division. So I ask you, Frank, shot or no shot, that would be an outstanding playoff series that you would really, really want to watch.
I mean, when you have 2, I'll say shot. When you have 2, but here, I'll give my reason. I'll say shot, and I'll explain what I'm saying. So when you have 2 teams in the same state competing each other in a series, that's just fun to watch in general, right? Like you always say, like Cubs White Sox World Series, that would be fun. Just like think of other sports teams when they play each other. That's a rivalry game. Even in college basketball, when you have Arizona and Arizona State play each other, the crowd goes nuts. The fans love it. However, I think the Ducks would take that series rather easily. So I don't know if it'd be as exciting as everybody would think, but you never know too, because when you have, like I said, when you have two teams in the same state and those are rivalry games, those games and series go either way too. So I'll say shot. It'd be something I'd want to see. I would enjoy watching it.
Joseph?
This is a huge shot. I had to look it up to get my year exactly correct, but it was 2014 in the second round of that Western Conference when the Los Angeles Kings played the Anaheim Ducks. I love when any one of those three California teams match up against each other, or any two of those three California teams match up against each other. It doesn't matter who it is. My favorite probably would be, if I had to choose, Ducks and Kings. So if that happens, I'm all in on that series. That would probably be one of the most entertaining series, especially because I truthfully believe the Ducks would be on the winning side of that series.
That's what I think too.
So,
Yes.
but anytime those teams match up in the playoffs, I remember watching that, and that was in a the fisticuffs were a little more omnipresent in the NHL back in 2014, and
Kessler and Doughty.
Drew Doughty getting into it. Corey Perry was at the thick of all the instigation. So it's like
squirting water in people's gloves.
Yeah. So it would be a little different in today's
Jeff Carter's gloves, right? Squirting water in Jeff Carter's gloves.
But I think it would bring the same kind of energy this time around, almost a decade later. So I'm all in.
Those memories just make me smile.
Yeah. And not to mention the goaltending battle we had between Jonathan Quick and was it Freddie Anderson? It was
Freddie Anderson and Gibson.
Freddie Anderson and that. So
yeah,
I'm big shot on that one. Who would say no shot to that?
Those smiles.
I'm worried about Vinny saying no shot.
Those smiles,
he's all in with me.
Oh, dude, hold on. Those memories make me smile so hard because those were some of the funnest play. Like the Kings and the Ducks. Whoever wins this series is going to go on and win the Stanley Cup. Like Getzlaf and Brown and Kopitar and Perry and Doughty. Cam Fowler was still like their top guy. Now they got guys like Zegras and Turcotte and Byfield and Iafallo and just outstanding young talent that is so fun to watch. That is a shot to the nth degree. I can't wait for that if it actually happens. Not only are they from the same state, they're from the same region of this big state. They're both in SoCal. I'm pretty sure the Honda Center is only like 45 minutes away from the Staples Center. So it's going to be fun to watch if it actually comes true. Arena? Yeah, Crypto.com Arena. Sorry. Rip Kobe. I can't believe anybody would say shot to that. I only wrote it down so we can have good Kings versus Ducks conversation. I agree the Ducks would win the series. That would be my pick. I think it'd be a little closer than people give it credit for. The Kings aren't as skilled as the Ducks just yet, but they added Byfield. He's been pretty good so far to start his career. They're hard to play against. They're mean, they're fast, and they're physical. So the Kings are a harder team to play against than some people give them credit for. They gave the Lightning a run for their money in their most recent game against them. So, the Kings are a good team. I think, the Ducks have probably too much skill to overcome in a 7-game playoff series. I think they match up better, especially at home. But it'd be a lot of fun to watch.
I do think it'd be a lot closer than people think, too.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it would be as close, just because of that interstate rivalry.
Yep.
Like, trust me, I've seen it in every single sport that there is. Like, interstate rivalries, it doesn't matter how good a team is. A team could be like 1-20 versus the best team in the league, but that interstate rivalry, it's just, there's something that gets the fans going. It's just a crazy atmosphere to be a part of.
Yeah. I also don't think that series will happen. I think the Flames could easily pass up. I mean, I'm just going to be a dick and point out the obvious here. I think the Flames will take over that King spot, and I ultimately think the Ducks are still going to win that Pacific Division regardless if Jack Eichel comes back in time to be impactful for the Vegas Golden Knights.
See, I think the Golden Knights are going to win the division, and I think the Ducks are going to come in second. The team I'm watching out for the most is the Edmonton Oilers. They're only 3 points out, and they added Kane, and they have like 5 less games played than everybody else. Don't sleep on the Edmonton Oilers quite yet. I know I was crapping on them last week. I hit the snooze
button on them 4 months ago.
I can't believe that. I know I was crapping on them last week and talking about trading McDavid and rather being Eichel than McDavid. I did some deep thinking about that throughout the week, and I still think right now I'd rather be Eichel. But I mean, I'm not fully out on the Oil just yet. Talk to me in a couple weeks about that. Evgeny Malkin is on fire for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has come back and lit the league up like we are used to seeing him do. and he told the press yesterday that he believes he can reach a new level following the NHL All-Star break. So I ask you guys, shot or no shot, with Gino and Sid both healthy, the Pittsburgh Penguins are a top 5 Stanley Cup contender. Joe.
Top 5. Yeah, I mean, you got to say shot. I would have to say that they literally, it seems like they have everything we talk about, the things that these Stanley Cup contenders need. And with the way Jari's been playing, the season Letang's having, and now having Crosby and Malkin back to their forms, on top of Jake Gensel, Jeff Carter is a great depth piece, not even including what they will inevitably add at the trade deadline like they do every year to give them, a competitive advantage in the playoffs. I would have to say shot. So,
right.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go no shot. I just look at teams around them, and I would think that the Colorado Avalanche have a better chance. I think the Vegas Golden Knights have a better chance. I think the Florida Panthers have a better chance. I think the Carolina Hurricanes have a better chance. And I would even say potentially the Rangers would have a better chance. If anything, they would be 5 on mine, but I'm not even going to give them in the top 5 just because I could see so many other things happening. So I'm going to go at no shot. I think there's too many other teams that are playing way better right now and being more skillful than the way they've been. And I don't know. I mean, it's hockey, right? We say that all the time. And the Penguins, they have that playoff experience with Crosby and Malkin. And so if they won the Stanley Cup, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. I'm baffled. But I just think there are 5 better teams right now than the Pittsburgh Penguins to win the Stanley Cup. So I'm going to go at no shot.
See, I have to side with Joey only. I mean, I'm a Penguins guy. Like, of course, maybe I'm a little biased. Of course, I'm going to say that Crosby and Malkin have been my guys. I have both of their jerseys. I have both of their T-shirts. I went to the United Center right when they rolled into town because I had to see the Penguins. Like, I love the Penguins. They're probably my 3rd favorite team or 4th favorite team, depending on what day it is. But
I didn't even say the Tampa Bay Lightning either.
Well, here's the thing.
Or the Boston Bruins.
Here's the thing.
There's just a bunch of other teams that I think would. I don't know.
I think there are 7 or 8 true Stanley Cup contenders. Like, if any of those 7 or 8 won the Stanley Cup, I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Penguins are probably in there for all of us. But I think I have them in the top 5 because of experience, like you brought up, Frank. And they have the goaltending with Jari. And Letang is probably going to be a top 5 Norris Trophy type of guy. And Crosby and Malkin are as good as they've been in 3 or 4 years. And they see Crosby's going to score his 400th goal right after the All-Star break. He's at 398 right now. He's probably going to be 500, 1,000 in his career. Like, just guys like that, I have to give my respect to. They have Jake Gensel. Nobody's even talking about him. Brian Rust is really good. So, and they play in a Metropolitan Division that I believe they can win playoff series against all those teams. I'm not even going by league standings. They're not a top 5 team in the standings. They're not going to be, I don't think. I'm talking about winning the Stanley Cup. And I believe they match up well in a 7-game series against the Rangers. I think they could take out the Carolina Hurricanes, even though the Hurricanes might be a better team. Same thing with the Washington Capitals. I know last night they lost in overtime to the Capitals, but there's no 3-on-3 in the postseason. So I got the Golden Knights. I have the Panthers. Okay, to me, those are the 2 cream of the crop. Then you got the Lightning, maybe, but I still think I would take the Penguins in a 7-game series over the Lightning this year because it's just so hard to three-peat, and I would take the team that is a little hungrier.
So what about the Colorado Avalanche?
The Colorado Avalanche, to me, are an interesting case. I think I would probably take them right now over the Penguins because of how well, like when Nathan McKinnon has been your 2nd best player in a season so far, even though he's their best player, like skill-wise, no GM in the league would take Rantanen over McKinnon. But so far this year, Rantanen has been a more productive offensive player. And I know McKinnon's going to be out for a while. He's got a busted-up nose, and Taylor Hall thought it would be a good idea to smash McKinnon's stick into his face. Just kidding, Joe. I know it was a complete accident. Obviously, it's obvious when you watch the video. But, having Cale Makar on the back end, he's going to lead the NHL defenseman in goals. If Bowen Byram comes back healthy, I do think Kemper is good enough to win a Stanley Cup on a team that good. Or they can make a trade for someone like Marc-Andre Fleury. I think they would give up the house to get an even better goalie than Kemper and maybe have him as a backup. So, yes, I do think the Colorado Avalanche probably have that for me. You didn't
even mention their leading point scorer, Nazem Kadri.
Yes, who is going to go to the All-Star game. And so there are a lot of really good teams. I just put stock in Pittsburgh being Pittsburgh and proving people wrong year after year. And it's been a while since they won a playoff series. This feels like the year they finally get back into the second round at least. So, and if you're in the second round, you're one of the Elite Eight. And then there are probably 3 teams worse than them out of the Elite Eight. So we'll see what happens. I think very highly of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I definitely see both sides, though, because it's not even necessarily saying they're not a cup contender from Frankie's point of view. He just thinks that there are probably 5 teams that might have a better chance at this point in time. I think Crosby and Malkin's health is also a concern. They're healthy right now, and we see how good they are when they're healthy, but are they going to stay that way? It's been an issue up to January, 15th? Maybe a little earlier than that. But Evgeny Malkin, man, they've been on fire. So last one. Tom Brady has retired. Now that means that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, and Phil Rivers are all done. They combined to win 14 Super Bowls since they were all drafted in the early 2000s, late 1990s. So I ask you guys, shot or no shot, the next generation of quarterbacks can be as good or better than those 6 who carried the NFL for so long. Of course, the six that you probably lean towards right now: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and then maybe Trevor Lawrence, maybe Justin Fields. Russell Wilson, I guess, is still in the mix, but he's probably like in that mid-tier. He's really the only elite quarterback drafted from 2014 to from 2010 to 2017. So
what 6 do you want to talk about, though?
Let's
kind of a loaded question.
Let's say Patrick Mahomes.
How many people you're talking about, and then what you're talking about.
Throwing Kyler Murray, Mac Jones in there? Or?
No, let's say
if you give me a 6, and then I'll tell you.
Okay, the 6 best young quarterbacks in the NFL right now: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Trevor Lawrence.
Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I said Justin Herbert.
So you're saying, well, is shot
or no shot?
Will they get more than 14, or just like
will they be just as good or better than those? Joe, I'll start with you.
I'm gonna say shot. I think without a doubt. I mean, we already have seen Patrick Mahomes have 2 straight Super Bowl appearances. He's not there this year. What?
He has 1 title.
Super Bowl appearance, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I said.
3, right? Straight? Oh, no, he lost.
No, he lost. He's not there. He's not there this upcoming Super Bowl.
4 straight AFC title games.
Yeah. And then, but let's look at the winner, who I hope is the upcoming winner. Did you say, you didn't say Matthew Stafford though, right?
No.
But Joe Burrow is the guy who I hope wins the Super Bowl, and I think he's on his way to many more Super Bowls. I think Justin Herbert's just getting started. Yeah, I'm gonna say shot 100%. I don't even know if you're gonna hate me for saying this. I think the name Lamar Jackson could be off that list and replaced by a Mac Jones maybe in a couple of years, or Kyler Murray. But yeah, I'm gonna say shot.
Well, I said Kyler Murray.
Oh, you did say Kyler Murray?
Justin Fields.
Mac Jones will be better than Fields.
I don't know about that, Chief.
I'll go shot as well. It's obviously, you mentioned 6 legends: Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, whatever. Okay. And it's hard to do what they did, but you have to think at how far Patrick Mahomes has come. I mean, look at him in the playoffs, right? It's going to be inevitable that he's going to go to the Super Bowl and win many more championships, right? He's not done yet. He's just getting started. This is just the tip of the iceberg. You mentioned Joe Burrow as part of the 6. He's got a chance of winning a Super Bowl this year. You mentioned a bunch of other quarterbacks that were in the conversation who are in the playoffs. It just seems like there's so much talent that could go either way that it's not going to be as definitive as it was when the Patriots were winning or when Tom Brady was winning. There's going to be, this guy has a chance to win, and Burrow's got a chance to win, and Kyler Murray's got a chance to win. And that could be each and every year going forward. It's not going to be one-sided. And that's why I'm going shot, is because I think there's going to be so many different opportunities for these young quarterbacks to win a game and win a championship that I'm going to have to go with shot, because it could come from anywhere at any point in any time of the next few years.
That's very fair. I was leaning towards no shot at first, but I actually like your point because Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Matthew Stafford all kind of like in the middle. There weren't any elite quarterbacks drafted from. I'm trying to think of what year Russell Wilson was drafted. It had to be 2009 or 10 when he transferred to Wisconsin. But like until Patrick Mahomes' draft, they had a little lull of quarterbacks, and now they're like 5 or 6. I disagree with Joey on Lamar Jackson. Dude's outstanding when he's healthy. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's got an MVP in one of his 3 years in the league, and he's in the conversation every single year, basically. I do love Josh Allen. I think Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are kind of underrated at this point. You can call them top 5 quarterbacks at this point, both of them. So I think Frankie might have persuaded me, though. I think I am going to go shot just because my initial reaction was saying no because they don't have a Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes is awesome, but are any of them going to win 7? One of them might be
Now
lucky
you're talking
to win
about combined
2.
too.
Yeah, but one of them might be lucky to win 2. The only thing is, I think this generation is going to have more elite quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
If you add Rodgers to this mix of the ones from the past, so Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, if you add Rodgers to that, then it's 7. There's going to be more than 7 like elite quarterbacks by 2025.
Right.
Like I think the 5 I named, hopefully Fields gets into that mix. I do believe Trevor Lawrence will be in that mix. I like Mac Jones.
Did you have Josh Allen in that list of 6
Yeah,
we're talking about?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
he's probably number 2.
Aside from Kyler Murray, there's a chance that one of those quarterbacks represents the AFC in the Super Bowl every single year.
And that's the thing that's true. Since Tom Brady came into the league, or this is the first Super Bowl in 19 years. 19, where were you 19 years ago? This is the first Super Bowl in 19 years that doesn't feature Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, or the 49ers.
Yeah,
Isn't that nuts?
So
That's absolutely banana lands. So I'm going to say shot, though. Frankie persuaded me.
And another
Frankie
thing
persuaded me because there's more options now.
Yeah, and another thing on top of everything I was saying, if I were to say Vin, would you be surprised if the Bengals won the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow? You'd say no. I'd say, Vin, do you think you'd be surprised next year if Josh Allen and the Bills won the Super Bowl? You'd say no. If I said, Vin, do you think Patrick Mahomes, if he won the Super Bowl next year, would you be surprised with the Chiefs? You'd say no. That's how much talent there is right now. There are so many options for all these elite quarterbacks to win, and that's why I ultimately went shot.
Yeah, and there's a name we're forgetting, too, who might be the second best young quarterback in the NFL, but he didn't play this year because of legal trouble. Can you think of who I'm talking about? I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, I got this list.
He needs to get out of Houston, but that's
but
they're not going to go anywhere to the Texans.
Even with Houston, they won a playoff game and really challenged the Chiefs the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So if Deshaun Watson plays, I think he's better than Allen and Herbert. So right now I have Allen as the second best on this list. If Deshaun Watson reaches his full potential, he's right there in that mix. So it's going to be fun to see. I enjoyed this shot or no shot. I hope you guys did too. I like playing these little games. I kind of switch it up each week. That's the first time I did the same one twice, but not twice in a row. So we'll see what we're able to come up with for next week. We like games on this show. And we're going to continue to play them. And with that, I'm going to send it over
to period number 3.
Period 3.
No, I stole your thunder. I feel bad now.
Welcome to period 3.
Well, it was all silent, and so I was like, "I'll say it." But
I was hoping one of you
guys put on a little harmony, so that's good.
Yeah, Thomas Gage seems to think that Deshaun Watson is not going to play ever again. If he gets indicted, yeah. But if he doesn't, he will be in the NFL next season on opening day. I hate to tell you. So it all just depends on how the legal system goes. But we're not talking about Deshaun Watson and his legal troubles right now. We are talking about Championship Sunday in the NFL. Super Bowl 56. I believe it's LVI. LVI.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 56 will be played between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. Guys, What a Super Bowl this is going to be. Two explosive offense with outstanding receivers, elite quarterbacks. What's your biggest takeaway from Championship Sunday?
I was right on both games. The history in the making. I feel like I deserve a round of applause.
I'm
Frank, I
giving you a
need to
round of
see you start
applause.
clapping. Hold on, we need to keep. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. There it is.
Yep. Good job, Joe.
I called it. Bengals Rams Super Bowl. The only part I'm worried about is I've got so attached now to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals that now I didn't think I was gonna have a rooting interest, but now like I really want the Bengals to win the Super Bowl.
Me
so
too.
It's gonna be a good Super Bowl. It's I mean, you got two amazing teams, both great in their own rights. I'm very excited for it.
Frank?
I'm very excited for it too. This is what I look forward to. Two teams that are like weren't picked to be here. I mean, I'm not saying like you're not surprised they're going to be here,
Well, by you guys.
but like
I picked them both to be here.
You assume the Chiefs, you would assume the Bills, but you got the
You
Bengals
out
and
in
the
division
Rams.
round too.
Yeah, but that's why you bet week to week.
And the Rams. So I'm excited for this. It's a change of pace. What more can you say?
I also want to say on Thursday on Crosstown Crosstalk, I was listening to the entire show. You and Aldo did a phenomenal job. And I think Aldo said that he wasn't expecting those two championship Sunday games to be as good as the previous week. And boy, was he wrong.
He was wrong.
Both of those, the AFC title game, the NFC title game, they were just as good down to the wire as the previous week's 4 games. So yeah, I mean it was a phenomenal championship Sunday, and honestly, it's been every single playoff game since those wild card games. There was like 2 games that weren't close. It was the Bills and the Bucks against who'd they play? The Eagles.
Yep.
Yeah, the Bills Pats and then the Bucks Eagles. Those are like the only 2 games I could think of that weren't like good games. So
well, no.
What am I forgetting? Oh, the Kyler Murray.
Yeah, your
Rams. Yeah,
and the Chiefs. The Chiefs kind of destroyed the Steelers too. Sorry.
Yeah. What a dick. What a dick. But yeah, it's been a phenomenal playoff so far, and it continued into Championship Sunday, and I expect it to continue into Super Bowl Sunday in a couple weeks. So bring it on. Bring on all the Buffalo dip, and I'm sure we're gonna have a segment on next week's show where we preview our
next week's show.
We should do like a Super Bowl snack.
Well, we're only going to have the All-Star game to recap hockey-wise.
Yeah, so
we'll do the first period talking All-Star game, and then the rest of the show will be about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll preview like our favorite activities, our favorite like little games. Like I know people do squares, strip cards,
squares, cards, gambling.
Yeah. Get everyone into that Super
props,
Bowl Sunday
Gatorade,
mood.
coin flip, national anthem. Is the Star Spangled Banner going to be over 1 minute and 50 seconds? I'm not sure.
95 seconds this year. We'll get into that.
95 seconds.
Bring your wallets on next week's show.
I'm going to start thinking about it. No picks this week. Breaking bets or right now. No picks about the Super Bowl. That's all next week. Make sure you tune into the show for that. We're going to be talking about all that. But guys, what's your favorite storyline from the Super Bowl as of right now? We'll do this again next week because things change. Media Day starts Monday. We'll have a lot more to talk about in terms of that. But as of right now, just the fresh storylines. Frank, I'll start with you.
I hope no one takes mine.
I don't think I'll take yours.
No, I think you might.
Like, I'm just thinking about like where we're at right now when you think Super Bowl 56 and the biggest storyline going into it. And I don't know if my opinion will change next week about this or whatnot, but it's the fact that the Bengals are here in the Super Bowl. And let me elaborate on that a little bit more. And that's why I didn't think I would take yours, Joe. First of all, nobody expected the Bengals to be here. They're one of the biggest underdogs if you look at the odds to get to the Super Bowl, especially at the beginning of the season. And I love that they're just causing havoc in the NFL right now, right? They beat the Chiefs. They're down 21-3 at half. The fact that coming into this playoff season for the Bengals that they haven't won a playoff game since before text messaging was invented, and now all of a sudden they just win and go on to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's just a storyline in itself.
Frank, I believe they were plus 8,000 to make it to the Super Bowl. which
point
is the
exactly.
largest odds to make it to the Super Bowl that hit since in the 21st century.
So there you go.
The second highest was in 2001. The Patriots were plus 2,000.
So that right there is a storyline in itself. The fact that the Bengals got to this point aren't known for winning playoff games, obviously, and now they just won consecutively, and now they're and they had to overcome giants like the Chiefs, and now they're here. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy.
I was looking through my old notes because I have like a little notebook that's for articles only, and I take notes in it, and then I go back to it when I go to write my articles. And I found from back in it was either August, I think it was August. I ranked the teams that the Chicago Bears were playing this season in 2021. And the only team I ranked lower than the Cincinnati Bengals was the Detroit Lions. I had them as the 15th or the 11th best team that the Bears would be playing this season. Now, I will say that the Bears beat the Lions twice and they beat the Bengals. So based on my against the Bears, it's correct, but they were certainly not the second to last team, the second worst team that the Bears played this season. That was one of my predictions that was wrong. The list was mostly good. The only thing I foobarred was I had the Bengals second to last and I had the Seahawks fourth. And of course, the Seahawks turned out to be a pretty lousy team this season. Russell Wilson was hurt. But so, Joe, what's your favorite storyline as of right now going into the Super Bowl?
I'm wondering if Thomas Gage kind of stole your storyline here.
Yeah, he did. But I have a backup one.
Well, you can go ahead with that because that's not mine.
Well, no, I have a backup one to even what Thomas brings up. Okay, I'll say it really quick so the audience knows. Matthew Stafford leaves the Detroit Lions where he was an elite quarterback playing on a very bad team, and without Megatron, they went 4-12 every year. When they had Megatron, they were able to overcome having a bad team around them. He's going to go to the Super Bowl, and he's not Pat Stafford. That people who call him that, you were proven wrong. Like, he was awesome this year. The Rams, they needed an elite quarterback. Jared Goff was not that. He was a good enough quarterback to win a couple playoff games that one year, but they knew that they could take it to a new level if they got an elite quarterback. They went out and got an elite quarterback. They saved his life. He will probably go to the Hall of Fame just based on his stats with Detroit alone. Now you might add a Super Bowl to the mix. Matthew Stafford's one of the top 10 quarterbacks from his generation. He's not a top 10 quarterback ever, but he's a top 10 quarterback from his generation, and he deserves our respect. It is proven to be true that playing for the Detroit Lions was a detriment to his career, but he was still able to be elite while there. But, now he's in the Super Bowl. But that was not the story I was going to bring up. Joe, you could give yours first really quick.
Yeah, and don't ever be sorry for getting engaged.
Don't be sorry.
Engaging.
Yeah.
We like
steal it all from us. Steal it from us. Steal it right from my mouth.
I think I might catch you guys off guard with my storyline going into this football.
Oh, we're going to get some hard-hitting analysis from
steal it.
Hard-hitting analysis
because it's not something you think I would just come up with or know or see. I saw it. I didn't come up with this, but when I saw it, it kind of caught me off guard. Like, this, how has this never happened? And that's that Joe Burrow has a chance to become the first player in NFL history to win the national championship, the Heisman, and the Super Bowl, and he has a chance to do it in a 3-year span.
Wow,
that to me is incredible. Joe Burrow is the real deal. I'm rooting for the Bengals.
Yeah, I really like that. My initial backup to the Stafford thing was going to be that it's two SEC quarterbacks. You got LSU versus Georgia in the Super Bowl, 2 number 1 overall picks. It's only the second time that 2 number 1 overall picks faced each other at quarterback in the Super Bowl. The last time was 2015 when number 1 overall pick out of Auburn named Cam Newton played against number 1 overall pick out of Tennessee, Peyton Manning, in Super Bowl 50. This is the second time. Number 1 overall out of Georgia, Matthew Stafford will play number 1 overall, Joe Burrow out of Louisiana State University. But I'm also very excited to talk about this story. For the first 54 Super Bowls, a team had never played in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. And here we are, Super Bowl 56, now for the second year in a row. A home team is going to play in the Super Bowl. Bring the Super Bowl to Arlington. Apparently, that's the new cool thing. We want the Super Bowl in Arlington. We want the Bears in the Super Bowl. It's always been a dream of mine to go to the Super Bowl. It is probably outside of getting married, having a family, all that stuff that's like obviously on everyone's bucket list. Going to the Super Bowl is number one on my sports bucket list. I want to go to the Super Bowl so bad. I want the Bears to be playing in it, but we'll see what happens there. Second year in a row, home team in the Super Bowl. Excited to see it.
Do you know what that means for like the future for next year?
I'm trying to think of where the Super Bowl might be next year.
Oh,
Frank,
I got it already.
is it Vegas?
No, that's the next year after.
Okay,
that.
okay. I knew they got the bid with their new stadium.
That just means next year the Arizona Coyotes or the Arizona Cardinals are going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they host the Super Bowl. They host the Super Bowl all the time, though.
Yeah, but now it's like they have a playoff contending team. They were in the playoffs, so it's possible that it happens 3 straight
playoff defeat.
Yeah,
and I know Joey would be happy if Kyler Murray and the
Cardinals
went to the.
So would I.
Oh yeah.
So would I. I love the Cardinals.
I picked the Rams in that first week, but I want to make it clear with you guys. The only reason I did that was just pure football. It had nothing to do with love or hate for anybody or anything. They were just this year's version of like what the Steelers were last year. Like they were so hot to start, and then they lost 5 of 6, 10 the year. Like when you watch enough football, you can see what that team is, and they're going to lose in the first round. And to me, that was the Cardinals this year. And, it was no ill will towards the Cardinals. If I believe they have a chance next year, I would love to pick them. I'd probably rather the Cardinals win than the Rams. I wish the Cardinals stayed in Chicago. I'd probably be a Cardinals fan. I don't like rooting for the team that everybody else roots for. They'd probably play on the South Side. They'd probably be – the White Sox and the Cardinals would probably be aligned in terms of fans. And you know how like Mets fans are Jets fans and Yankee fans are Giants fans for the most part? Like I think that would be the same case here. I wish the Chicago Cardinals still existed. So, I've always had a soft spot for them for that fact, knowing that if they were still here, they probably would be my team. So, but, go Bears. That's how it worked. I ended up being a Bears fan. So now if the Cardinals came back, I wouldn't give up the Bears for the Cardinals. But I know Joey would. But, it is what it is. I'm excited to see the home team host the Super Bowl.
You say give up the Bears. You kind of have to have the Bears in order to give them up.
Eberflus gonna coach the Chicago Bears. You guys like when I sing on camera?
No.
The NHL All-Star Game is this weekend. The skills competition's Friday. The 3-on-3 tournament between the Pacific Division, the Metropolitan Division, the Central Division, and the Atlantic Division will take place on Saturday night. Joseph, preview, predictions, start with the skills competition.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the different events. I haven't seen much. There's actually a picture I wanted to pull up. Look at how prepared I am, huh? It was they added a couple guests for some challenges that I know I talked to you.
I was surprised about that too.
I know I talked to you about it, Vin, on the phone the other day. I don't even know how to go about pulling this up. But I'll get the names here for you. There's a special guest for the breakaway challenge. Or no, 3 guests for the breakaway challenge and 1 special guest for the accuracy shooting. And that accuracy shooting guest is Jocelyn. You're gonna help me, Vin.
Jocelyn Lamoureux, who is known for being the greatest female hockey player who ever lived.
Yeah, she is, as Vinny called her, the Wayne Gretzky of
She's the Wayne Gretzky of female
women's hockey. And then in the breakaway challenge, this is probably my favorite part. As a special guest, Trevor Zegras, NHL forward, is a special guest in the breakaway challenge, so he will compete in that. Another goalie, there's 2 goalie special guests. Manon Ramu is playing goalie for the breakaway challenge. I don't know much about her.
I watched an interview with her. She was on the Devils Leafs intermission. Very cool story on how.
What does she do?
I don't know I didn't catch exactly what she does or the reason she was chosen, but she seemed very excited to be involved with this, and I'm very happy for her.
I just Googled her the other day, and I already forget. Wyatt Russell is the other guest who, if you don't know, Frank, Wyatt Russell, he's playing goalie. He's a celebrity. He is the actor who plays John Walker in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes.
I was wondering who he was. I
so
look him up.
They're getting some celebs playing goalie. It's just going to be a fun time. And then, of course, My favorite event is the accuracy shooting. I'm looking forward to seeing some of my favorite players compete in that. Hardest shot is always good. Fastest skater. I look forward to the skills competition a little bit more than I do the actual All-Star game. So,
Are you excited for the new event?
and then they always throw in new events that I'm always interested to learn.
There's an event at the Vegas Fountain.
Is there?
There's
Yeah.
2 new events.
Yeah, but one is at the Vegas Fountain,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah, so it'd be cool. I actually enjoy what they do. The only thing I wish they didn't do, I wish they go back to the old targets for the accuracy shooting. Last year it was on like an LED screen, and it really just fucking annoyed me. But I'm interested to see these new events and kind of what they do. Yeah. Also, Machine Gun Kelly is performing on Saturday for the All-Star, so I mean that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, Frank.
So is the All-Star game Saturday and the skills is Friday?
Skills competition 6:30 p.m. Central, I believe it starts. Your coverage starts, and then on Saturday the first game is 2 p.m. Central, and then there'll be 3 games. There will be, I'm assuming, Atlantic versus Metro, then Pacific versus Central, and then the 2 winners will face off each other in the finals.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people don't like the format, the 3-on-3, because they say, "Oh, let's go back to the old days. Let's get back to the captains, the draft." I like them all. I like it both ways. I'm looking forward to it this year. I like the tournament. It's a nifty idea. I think it gives the players a better chance to showcase their skills because there's more ice out there. There's more room for them to skate around and do stuff with it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all the events of All-Star Weekend, including the 2 new ones. So yeah, I can't wait.
Ray Ferraro suggested doing it on a smaller rink, and I actually kind of like the idea.
Like the
3-on-3 tournament,
arcade, like the game, kind of like the smaller rink.
Yeah, it would add a lot. It would add a lot more intensity, I think, is the sentiment behind his idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the players would like that though.
You know what else Ray Ferraro suggested? Because the Devils have been so trash lately that I kind of want to get. I wanted to get like the Sportsnet and TSN because the Leafs played Monday night on Sportsnet and Tuesday night on TSN, which is very weird. Most games are just on Sportsnet, but I think it was just because it was like a makeup game. They had it on TSN. And Ray Ferraro suggested doing the NHL playoffs similar to the NBA because someone asked him if they like that both conferences pretty much have their teams set. I know there's one spot really available for like 5 teams in the Western Conference, but like the East teams are set. I mean, we don't know the order yet, but they're set. It's going to be those 8 teams, no doubt in my mind. The only team who might have a chance is the Islanders because they played 8 less games than everybody else. But like even they're under 500, so like they would really have to win a majority of those makeup games, and that's not a guarantee.
So you're saying do the play-in?
Okay, so you have the first 2 teams get the top seeds, which makes the teams that are 1 through 6 want to fight for those top seeds, but it also makes teams like 3, 4, and 5 want to avoid being 6 or 7 through 10 having to play in that play-in series. So really it keeps every single team, the ones at the bottom, are engaged because they're still in playoff contention. Like the Devils would still be in playoff contention right now. And it keeps the teams at the top from getting complacent because they would never want to drop down and have to be in the mix for not home ice advantage or playing in that play-in game, stuff like that. So I definitely think there's some tweaking that could be done to the whole thing, and it sucks that the race is basically over, especially in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. But
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't this year. The Bruins probably have to play in that little early tournament, the 7 through 10.
It's a cool concept, the tournament.
It is.
It's an okay.
It is.
I don't know, but
it is.
I think you have a chance to be rewarding some teams who were pretty brutal.
But you also
you
keep everyone engaged for the whole season. It gets locked up by it's going to be locked up by March, and that's just not as fun as it could be. You know, I like when it's I miss 1 through 8 the way it was pre.
So do I.
I think it was the 2013 when the Hawks won the cup on the short season was the last time that it was of that format. And I think that kept people more engaged because the wild cards were set up a little bit differently. and it wasn't division based. So like teams could be more involved all season long. Like right now, I think the Kings have less points than the Blues, who are in a wild card spot because the Central Division is so stacked. But the Kings are in a playoff or in a division spot instead and could get home ice even. So like I do miss that format if I had to choose, but it's interesting. But I'm glad to hear you guys are excited for the All-Star game. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's usually a fun weekend. So
let's, for the sake of shits and giggles, because I do believe there's each team basically has a 25% chance. I actually think I told Joey this in the car when we were driving. I think the Pacific Division has a 30% chance, and then the rest of the divisions just split whatever's left, because I think the Pacific has like a slight advantage by having McDavid and Draisaitl. But for the most part, it's pretty even. Any of the four could win. Nobody's the weak link, in my opinion. I don't think there's one team that you look at and go, that team has no chance. So, Frank, who do you think is going to win the All-Star game?
I'm going to give it to the Pacific. I said that last week or the week before when we talked about players making the All-Star team. Like you said, it could go either way. It usually goes either way. The best team usually just doesn't always win it, or whoever I think is going to win it usually doesn't win it. But I just don't know. There's something with the Pacific, and like you said, having McDavid and Draisaitl and McKinnon, or not. Well,
McKinnon's in the Central.
Oh yeah, in the Central.
He's not playing either, but
yeah. He's not. Yeah. Whoever else from the Pacific.
It's a really good team,
and even their goaltending. From the Pacific.
Yeah.
But I know they don't try as hard. I mean, it's kind of like a little relaxed and, but I'm going to give it to the Pacific.
Joseph?
Yeah, I agree that, it's pretty much pick 'em, but I believe every team it's a 25% chance going into it. With that being said, I think the leadership that Patrice Bergeron will bring to the Atlantic Division is unmatched throughout the entire National Hockey League. And not to mention, the great players that they have on that team. So I'm going to go with the Atlantic.
There you go. I'm going to stick with Frankie and go with the Pacific Division. I just think McDavid and Draisaitl, you don't have to try super hard to be able to shoot the puck and pass the puck better than everybody else. And that's what Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid do. Before we head into our...
like I say, leadership, and Austin Matthews is the captain.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's your little bit. I do want to get
the Atlantic will win.
I do want to get your opinions on something that was addressed by the Barroom Network official account in the chat. And of course, that is the fact that the Washington football team is no longer the Washington football team. Going forward, they will be known as the Washington Commanders. Frank, your thoughts on the name?
Well, I saw it leaked last night from that helicopter when they zoomed in through I thought that was pretty funny because they had this like big thing waiting and then it was all spoiled for them. But honestly,
wait, that really happened?
Yeah, you didn't hear that?
No.
There was a news helicopter or something, and they zoomed through the window of the Washington football team stadium, and there was a Commanders banner hanging up. So I knew this. So everybody knew this was coming last night. And I'm surprised you didn't see it, Joe.
No, I'm. It
was like all over Twitter. Like I was looking at it, literally everybody was posting it.
That's hilarious.
So we knew this was coming. Like at least I did.
Do you like it?
I do not. This was not be my first choice of name. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. I know, Vin, you said there was like rumors of them being the Crusaders. I would have rather them be the Crusaders than the Commanders, because you say the Washington Commanders. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. It definitely wouldn't be my first choice of name if I had one. I couldn't even come up with anything off the top of my head. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the name at all.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it at first glance, I guess first impression.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's good. I feel like I actually do like those black uniforms.
So do I.
Skyler's uniforms are terrible, and I agree. I'm not a fan of the
red one's awful. The red one is awful. I can't tell if I like the white one though. Yeah, I haven't looked too deeply. From what I see on the black one though, I agree with you. These black uniforms look sick. Yeah,
but nice. With that being said, did anyone really like the Washington football team right when they said that was going to be their name for?
Yes.
I think it grew
Yeah, but I
on
didn't
people.
it didn't even grow on me though. I didn't like it.
Oh,
I
I
think
do
people,
like it.
people started to embrace
like it.
Washington football team.
It's like FC football
Yeah.
club, like Atlanta FC, New
So
York FC. Like
I kind of feel like that's gonna happen with Commanders. Like people hate it now, but then like in 2 years, it's just gonna be normal. And like,
yeah, like the Commanders are coming to town. Like,
Commanders,
the Guardians.
Commanders,
I'm already used to saying the Guardians. I know,
Yeah, but I like the name Guardians.
but they're in my division. I talk about them a lot. Like I've written about the
Or like when
Guardians
the
already.
Phoenix
Like I'm used
Coyotes
to.
became the Arizona Coyotes, people are like, oh, Arizona doesn't roll off the tongue, but it's like, I don't think this is something we get used to.
I think within 2 years, or even
Commanders,
maybe
it's
even after next season, like it'll just be normal. Like,
Joe, do you think decision committees like have that in mind? Like
yeah,
I know,
people are gonna hate it at first, but
Apple, you've talked about a lot. Like when they stopped doing certain things, like putting certain things in the package that we're used to getting when we open a new iPhone, and their logic is people will get used to it.
yeah, or like
And,
when they first
right.
removed the headphone jack, like, yeah, people are gonna bitch and complain about it. You're not gonna have your headphone jack, but guess what?
Not a single person gives a shit anymore.
No one gives a shit anymore. You're gonna get used to it, and it's just gonna be life. That's kind of.
I think that's part of decision committees, like thinking like they don't have quick reaction in mind when coming up with decisions like this. I don't like the maroon uniforms. Can't decide on the white. Like the black. I love the helmet. I like that they kept the same W from when they were called the football team. So RIP football team. I'm gonna miss that name. I might still call them the Washington football team going forward, even though obviously everybody says that. And, they're calling it the Willis Tower and Guaranteed Rate Field as much as nobody calls it Comiskey Park. And I still call it Comiskey. No, you don't. Okay. And they don't play at Comiskey anymore. Okay.
I mean, you still called it the Staples Center.
It's true.
They just changed
Got him.
They just changed it like a month ago. In a year from now, but Frank, you corrected me to be funny. Like,
but it's crypto.com.
Because it's kind of a stupid name. Nobody likes it right now. A year from now, I promise you, a year from now, I will not call it the Staples Center.
He corrected you because he doesn't like you spreading false information on our.
Well, guys, 5 minutes each for fighting.
We haven't gotten one of those in a while.
I was thinking,
was it Christmas Day? Was it Christmas Day they changed it?
It happened 2 weeks ago. No, we haven't gotten that.
You know what? Shut up. Give me another penalty.
It's gonna happen next week too, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, we haven't gotten that in a while."
Was it Christmas Day they changed it?
I know it's Groundhog's Day, but I feel like I'm living in Groundhog's Day.
Stupid Phil saw his shadow. Screw that thing.
Well, guys, 5 minutes each for fighting.
Of course, the groundhog that saw his shadow and it would give us an extra 6 weeks of winter. His name's Phil. Of course,
he's been waiting all show to bring up Groundhog's Day. He didn't know when to say it.
That's because have you seen the movie Groundhog's Day?
Is it like the loop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like I'm in. Like I was just
like in Doctor Strange when he's fighting Dormammu.
Yeah, that's what I feel like is happening. Like it's gonna pop up and he's gonna be like on cue. Oh, we haven't seen this in a while.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Dormammu.
Is it time to make our fans some money?
I've come to bargain. It is time to make our fans some money with our favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment on any podcast across all platforms, Breaking Bets. Effective immediately, I have retired from gambling and I'm never spending another penny on gambling ever again.
This is another thing.
Until the Super Bowl.
That's another thing he says. Is you guys playing a joke?
Every Breaking Bets, he says the same shit.
So I leave you with the betting experts.
He has one championship Sunday meltdown and he's like, I'm retired.
Do you guys remember that commercial? I can't remember.
Monkey see, monkey do. Tom Brady retires when he's like, I'm retired.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm mush since Tom Brady retired, but I actually have a fair bit of news that I'm very excited about to share that, hopefully by next show it'll all be squared away. We'll figure it out. But do you guys remember that commercial? It was a commercial that sold mattresses. I can't remember what company was called, but they had the slogan, "The betting experts, where dreams come true."
Oh, yeah.
We should change it to "The betting experts" as our slogan. The betting experts, Where
that.
money comes true. I love it. I'm a genius.
I
They
think
should pay
Breaking
me
Bets
lots
is
of money.
better. Breaking Bets is better.
No, we use both.
You call it breaking bets, but you like throw
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Welcome to the betting. Welcome to the Breaking Bets expert or the Breaking Bets segment with the betting experts. Where bets come true.
Yeah, I feel like that's crossing the sauces, and I'm
I like crossing the sauces. Joe,
always double dipping.
your bets for the week.
Speaking of crossing the sauces, Mr. Alex
Ooh.
He's gonna
Ovechkin
steal my
himself
picks all the time.
is not playing tonight. Is that going to stop me? Is that going to stop me from taking the Washington Capitals
That's
at
a stupid
home?
decision.
At home? Then he retired. Once you retire, you can't no comments from the peanut gallery when you retire. Okay? You don't sit on picks after you retire.
Yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure if you go back,
No,
and
you
look,
should probably retire too, based on your recent track record.
even though if you go back and look, Frankie and I are actually.
I think I swept the board last week.
No, Frankie swept the
decent-
board last week.
I had the Bengals
don't
plus
think I don't
7,
keep
the
these
Rams.
things in mind. I take no probably more than you guys.
Okay, what did I do last week? All I have to do is
No,
look at
last
the
week you
schedule.
guys both did well.
I do well my hockey picks. I hand
We
out
had the
free
Hawks
money.
in that game that nobody thought were going to win.
Frank,
Right, well-
you didn't do well. You didn't sweep the board. You had Bruins money line. I took Bruins 1.5, and that's
I got one wrong.
I was.
I know one of my picks were Bengals plus 7, Rams money line, the Hawks that nobody thought was going to win that game, and we texted about it. I did pretty well.
Yeah, I had the Hawks money line, the Bruins plus the 1.5, and they ended up losing 3-4. So I mean, you can't say I'm all biased because I took the plus 1.5. Guess what? It hit. So with that being said, this week, another one: Capitals at home in Washington versus the fraudulent Edmonton Oilers. They stink. I don't care if Ovi's not playing. I'm not gonna. You can't pass up on the Washington Capitals plus 100 home dogs. If it was on the road, okay, maybe I'm not touching it. But guess what? It's at home. That plays a huge part. The Capitals could still win that game without Alexander Ovechkin. They ain't playing no Colorado Avalanche or Vegas Gold. They're playing the Edmonton Oilers at home as a home dog. Yeah. Then I got a parlay. We're going to take that one independent, plus 100. I got 2 hockey games that I'm fairly confident in. Both are favorites, but you parlay them together to get the plus 112 odds. And that is the Flames. They're going into Arizona. Arizona playing on a back-to-back. You know, they obviously just were in Colorado last night. They won. Are they a team that can beat 2 elite teams in a row? I don't think so. I like the Flames on the road against the Coyotes, parlayed with, I'm sorry, Frank, the Minnesota Wild. Just they got the Blackhawks number. They're the better team in every single way. Wild, Flames, parlay at plus 112. Sorry.
Well, we are on the same page about one thing.
Yeah. And I actually wrote everything down. Like this is the most notes. I took notes this week.
I totally agree with you with the Washington Capitals. You said they're plus 100. When I checked, it was minus 107. So plus 100 is even better.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the Oilers, they're just on the road. I've talked about that in the past too. They're not a good road team. I know they've kind of been hot lately. They won 4 of the last 5, but I'll gladly take the Washington Capitals at home as dogs. Then moving over to the basketball scene, Pacers suck. They're home against the Magic, who suck even more than the Pacers. The Bulls just dummied them last night. Pacers are minus 3.5 at home. Kind of like the way the Pacers have been playing lately, even though they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. Minus 3.5 against a team that's really bad, like the Magic, who've played on a back-to-back. They're only minus 110 with the minus 3.5. I would say absolutely take that, no doubt about it. If you're looking to do something else in the basketball scene, Thunders play the Mavericks tonight. The over-under is very low for a basketball game, for an NBA game. It's 205.5. Now, people see that from the naked eye. They're like, oh, 205.5, isn't that low? These are 2 teams that don't tend to score a lot, but they also play pretty good defensively. Hence the reason why the line is this low. And normally when a basketball line is this low, I'm not talking like 211, 210 low. When it's 205.5 low, there's a pretty good reason on why it's there, and the game is not going to go over. Take the under 205.5 at minus 110, and you could thank me later. That's all I got.
Guys. Very good picks. I hope everybody wins themselves a lot of money. We're all going to need it so we can lose it all on the Super Bowl, betting on things like red Gatorade and the Star Spangled Banner's length and the coin toss being heads for the third year in a row. So I'm excited about it. It's really good picks. And this was a great show. I think we did some great analysis on Tom Brady. We went over the Blackhawks and their search for a new GM by bringing in some new head coaches. If you're coming in late, make sure you go back and check it all out, talking about things like the New Jersey Devils, Boston Bruins, National Football League, what went on in Championship Sunday leading into the Super Bowl. And next week we're going to have, our recap of the NHL All-Star Game that's going to take place this weekend. And hopefully I'm sitting here bragging about the Metropolitan Division winning again. But, we'll see what happens with that. Of course, we will have an entire, maybe most of the show dedicated to the Super Bowl, because there's really not going to be much hockey to talk about because the break will really just start beginning to be done. And then teams got buys coming up after that. I know the Devils have a 5-game bye just after, I want to say they play 5 again and then have a 5-day bye. So, that's all coming up. We're going to go over it all. I'm very excited to talk about the Super Bowl, our favorite Super Bowl snacks and all that kind of stuff. You need to be tuning into the Bar Down Talking Hockey show next week for all this stuff. Of course, we got great stuff coming up on the Barroom Network in general. The Mike North Advantage, he's always given his great stories talking about stuff. I love Uncle Mike talking Bulls over the weekend with Bulls 101. And, I think there is one other Bull show. I'm drawing a blank on its name, but, plenty of Bears content with the hiring of Matt Eberflus as the head coach. Ryan Pohl's new GM, Bulls Gold. Yep, that's it. That's what it is. Bulls Gold and Bulls 101. And then, of course, I want to preview tomorrow. For those who don't know, today is National Women's in Sports Day. And I'm very thankful for all the women in my life, but I'm also very thankful for all the women that contribute to the sports community and the sports culture, because I believe it is important in growing the game. And we're seeing things like last year, we had our first ever female referee in the Super Bowl. And, we have a coach in Major League Baseball for the Yankees single A team, Kim NG. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her last name. She's the GM of the Seattle Mariners now. It's just grown so much over the years, and I love to see it so much. And to have a conversation on moving it forward, I'm having a very good friend and coworker of mine, Gabrielle Starr, tomorrow on Crosstown Crosstalk to talk about all things women in sports. David Ortiz, Big Papi, being elected into the Hall of Fame. She's a huge Red Sox fan. I can't wait to talk to her about that. I'll be going over Shohei Ohtani being on the cover of MLB 22, the show, just an absolute superstar that he is. Could a White Sox player be on it in the future? Could a Cubs player be on it in the future? It's very exciting to talk about, and I'm very much looking forward to all these things here on the Barroom Network.
That cover for the show is, I don't know if there's going to be a cooler cover within the next.
It's really nice.
It's
MLB the Shohei.
It's literally the perfect cover. That's got him in the background, pitching. It's got both of his signatures in Japanese and in English. Yeah. And then the slogan, it's Showtime. Like it's honestly just a perfect.
You probably haven't seen the Legend Edition yet either. It's like a cartoon drawing version of him. Mm-hmm. It is so awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So check it out if you haven't seen it. We'll all be playing MLB 22.
The great part it is now that it's no longer a PlayStation exclusive, so now everybody can play it.
And it's not only a PlayStation and Xbox exclusive, as it will be coming to the Nintendo Switch starting this year as well. So that's very exciting news for all gamers across all platforms, all baseball fans. I'm very excited to dig deep into it tomorrow with my friend Gabrielle. It should be a really good show. Make sure you tune in for that. Is there anything else you guys want to say to the fans before we head on out of here?
If anybody likes gaming, I stream a lot on Twitch at the KingBean17 on Twitch. You could follow me. I'll be streaming some games. I'll probably be doing that tonight, potentially tomorrow too. I love doing it, so the support and following me helps me out a ton. We've developed a little community lately with a few guys who come in, so it's always nice to chat with new people. So I'll leave it at that.
Very good.
Absolutely. And so in order to keep up with all of us throughout All-Star Game weekend, make sure you're following at the King Bean on Twitter, at Joey Parisi on Twitter, and hopefully at Vinny Parisi on Twitter. Thank you for listening.
Can you name the guys who were picked ahead of you, Tom?
The quarterbacks, Chad Pennington was picked in the first round. Chris Redmond was picked in the third round. Giovanni Carmazzi was picked in the third round, I think. T. Martin was picked in the 5th round. Spurgeon Wynn was picked. There was one other guy, small school guy, Mark Bolger.